Oke, sudah live.
3, 2, 1. Oke, MC, silakan.
Okay. Okay, Mr.
Admin,
Lensa,
admin
thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention for the second? Our opening ceremony is about to begin. Please be ready at your place and device. I repeat again, please be ready at your place and device because our opening ceremony is about to begin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi.
Iya betul sekali Ibu, tapi untuk ya saya perlu tahu.
Selamat pagi, Ohayo gozaimasu. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 10th Annual Scientific Meeting of Emergency Nursing, Asmen, which presented by Indonesian Emergency and Disaster Nurses Association, Iedna, HIPGABI, on November 28, 2020. It's being such a great honor for me, Mito Julianto, to become your master of ceremony and lead you to enjoy this event. Ladies and gentlemen, over the next few hours, this meeting will provide you plenty opportunities to discuss and share knowledge and insight about building resilience of emergency department nurses in the time of COVID-19 pandemic. The aim of this webinar is to improve understanding on how to build resilience of emergency department nurses in the time of COVID-19 pandemic through learn from different countries. Before we proceed the program today, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Excellencies Mr. Hari Fadilah, SKP SHMHKes, MKEP, the Chairman of the Indonesian National Nurses Association, PPNI, represented by Nurse Abdul Rahmat, SKEP MKes. Excellencies Mr. Nurse Welas Rianto, MKEP SPKEP MB, the President of Indonesian Emergency and Disaster Nurses Association, Iedna, HIPGABI, Excellency Nurse Arcelia Farosyah Putri, Master of Science, Associate Fellow of the Higher Education Academy, University of Edinburgh, United Kingdom. Excellency, a speaker from Taipei Medical University, Associate Professor, Mr. Fuchi Lai, Registered Nurse, PhD. Excellency, a speaker from Calvary, Wakefield, Adelaide, Australia, Miss Emma Brokenshire, Registered Nurse. Excellency, a speaker from Japanese Red Cross Osaka Hospital, Miss Noriko Ikeda, Registered Nurse, RN, PHN. And then, Excellency, a speaker from Indonesia, Manager of Emergency Department in Cipto Mangunkusumo Hospital in Jakarta, Mrs. Siti Nurlailah, MKEP, SPKEP, MB. And then, Excellency, distinguished guests, delegates, participants, sponsors, and all of ladies and gentlemen. Honorable distinguished speaker, participant, delegate, ladies and gentlemen. Furthermore, I would like to present to you our rundown today. I will read our rundown. For the first step, is opening, and we will next continue to singing the Republic of Indonesia National Anthem, Indonesia Raya, and then we continue singing the March of Indonesian National Nurses Association, PPNI, and continue by singing the March of Indonesian Emergency and Disaster Nurses Association. And then we will move to speech segment, speech of the Chief of Committee, continue by speech of the Chairman of the Indonesian Emergency and Disaster Nurses Association. We'll continue with speech of the Chairman of the Indonesian Nurses Association. And then we will move to webinar first session, continue by discussion and sponsor presentation. After webinar first session, we will take a break, and then we will continue with webinar second session and discussion. The last, we will closing this event. Honorable ladies and gentlemen, the 10th Annual Scientific Meeting of Emergency Nursing, Asmen, will be delivered to you all by online through Zoom application and via YouTube channel. I kindly remind you to stay tuned and follow the HIPGABI YouTube channel. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow. So I remind you to like, follow, and subscribe HIPGABI YouTube channel. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished speaker, guests and participants, as our welcome greeting and to invoke the smooth running of the event, I would like to allow you all for a moment to pray to our God. May Allah bless us and give the smoothness to our event today by saying Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, furthermore, I would like to lead you all to singing the Republic of Indonesia National Anthem, Indonesia Raya, continue singing the March of Indonesia National Nursing Association, PPNI, and then singing the March of Indonesia Emergency and Disaster Nurses Association.
Indonesia Raya.
Persatuan Perawat Nasional Indonesia, wujud ikatan profesi perawatan. tempat membina dan mengembangkan kemampuan diri dalam membuktikan keberadaannya. Mendapatkan keyakinan lebih pasti sejajar dalam pembinaan diri, bangkit berdiri dan langkahkan kakimu itu menatap hari esok penuh asa. Wahai perawat Indonesia, bangkitlah dan majulah untuk menolong kalian yang menderita. Kuatkanlah pribadimu, tingkatkan pengetahuan untuk memberikan asuhan keperawatan. Kita melangkah untuk mengisi pembangunan bangsa negara Indonesia, untuk mengantarkan bangsa menuju sehat semua dengan semangat jiwa Pancasila. Maju perawat, majulah dalam kancah pembangunan, tunjukkanlah pada sekalian orang. Jadilah perawat model kesehatan bangsa kita, jadilah teladan dalam hidup sehat. Bangkitlah perawat seluruh Indonesia dalam mengembangkan citra profesi, menjunjung tinggi kode etik keperawatan, laksanakan panggilan tugas mulia, mencapai derajat kesehatan seoptimal mungkin bagi warga negara Indonesia. Sebagai bukti kiprahnya mahkota putih suci dalam mendukung pembangunan kesehatan. Dengan organisasi PPNI yang kokoh, padu bersatu serta selaras, perawat Indonesia akan mampu angkat citranya di mata dunia. Himpunan perawat darurat dan bencana Indonesia peduli sesama, tenang dalam pada HIPGABI, wujud keadilan soal simak panggilan Ibunda Pertiwi telah bergema di negara. Air panggilan suci, bukit segala bencana, satu visi satu hati kebalangan, jawab tantangan, satu berbulan.
Okay, thank you host, and thank you for all participants. Honorable distinguished ladies and gentlemen, before proceeding to the next agenda, I would like to remind you all about the rules of following and joining the webinar. The 10 Asmen webinar regulation, 1, Zoom access will be open 15 minutes prior to event started. 2, participants must use their original name and not the institution or device name as the ID during the webinar. Participants who gain access via Zoom must be in well-dressed and behave modestly during webinar. Participants are strongly expected to turn off the voice feature or mute during webinar. All participants from Zoom are able to ask questions by sending private message on Zoom chat to moderator by typing the format as at least, mention your name and institution, and type your question briefly and whom speaker you will address. So to attention for all participants, you can sending private message on Zoom chat to moderator by typing the format as list, mention your name and institution, and type question briefly and whom speaker you will address. Webinar certificate will be granted to the participants who follow the webinar fully since the beginning until closing session. In the end of session, link of evaluation will be shared via Zoom chat and YouTube live chat. The link will be active for 30 minutes. Participants who didn't fill the Google form before the event and evaluation from after the session will not be granted with the webinar certificate. It's the rule of our webinar this morning. Okay, honorable ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite the Chief of Asmen Committee, Mr. Bahreni Yusuf MKEP SPKEP MB, to deliver his speech and report. Mr. Bahren, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mito Yulianto, and to the Honorable, and to the Honorable Head of Organization Department of the Indonesian National Nurses Association, Mr. Abdurrahmat SKEP MKes, the President of Indonesian Emergency and Disaster Nurses Association, Mr. Welas Rianto, MKEP SPKEP MB, and to all the speaker, 10th Annual Scientific Meeting of Emergency Nursing, Mr. Fuchi Lai, RN PhD, Associate Professor, College of Nursing, Taipei Medical University, Mr. Emma Brokenshire, RN, Learning and Development Coordinator, Calvary Wakefield, Adelaide, Australia, Ms. Noriko Ikada, RN PSN, Director of International Relief Division, International Medical Relief Department, Japanese Red Cross Osaka Hospital, Mrs. Siti Nurlaila, MKEP SPKEP MB, Manager of Emergency Nursing, Cipto Mangunkusumo Hospital, Indonesia, and all participants of the 10th Annual Scientific Meeting of Emergency Nursing. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Good morning and the best wishes to all of us. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Today we can gather together in a series of activities of the 10th Annual Scientific Meeting of Emergency Nursing through an international webinar that focuses on discussing the handling of the COVID-19 pandemic in the emergency unit, especially about how to build the resilience of emergency nurses during the COVID-19 pandemic through learning from different countries. With so many, in fact, this COVID-19 disaster might last for the next 2 or 3 years. So that various action and strict police are enforced by government in various countries to minimize the spread of the virus and help countries recover. We need to convey the participant of international webinar were attended by approximately 600 participants from Indonesia, Malaysia, USA, Taiwan, Australia, and Japan. We hope that this activity can add useful knowledge and insight for oneself, other the work environment and nursing practice in particular. That is the report on the international webinar activity I submit. Thanks again to all the webinar participants. Hopefully you can enjoy the whole series of the activity. Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning.
Thank you, Mr. Bahrain, for your speech. After here, it's my pleasure to invite the President of Indonesian Emergency and Disaster Nurses Association, HIPGABI, Mr. Nursuela Srianto, MKEP, SPKEP, MB, to deliver his speech and officially open the event. Nursuela Srianto, time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Praise be to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala for giving His bless and mercy sweat. We all call join international webinar. 10th annual seated meeting in Emergency Nursing of Indonesia Emergency and Disaster Nurse Association, HIPGABI. With the topic, building resilience of emergency department nurse in the time of COVID-19 pandemic. We would like to express your gratitude to Mr. Haripadilah SKP SH MKes MKEP, the President of Indonesia National Nurse Association, PPNI, with Nurse Abdul Rahmat SKEP MKes, Head of Department, Indonesia National Nurse Association, PPNI, the Board of Director of HIPGABI, Ms. Amelia Kuraini Kimin SKP MN, Mr. Nurse Abdul Rahmat SKEP MKes, Dr. Fuchi Lai, Associate Professor, College of Nursing, Taipei Medical University, Ms. Emma Brokenshire, Registered Nurse, Learning and Development Coordinator, Capability Wickerfield, Adelaide, Australia, Ms. Nariko Ikeda, Registered Nurse, PhD, Director of International Relief Division, International Medical Relief Department, Japanese Red Cross Osaka Hospital, and then Ms. Siti Nurela MKEP SPKEP MB, Manager of Emergency Nursing, Cipto Mangunkusumo Hospital, board member of HIPGABI and regional HIPGABI across Indonesia. Emergency and disaster nurse and our healthcare colleagues and all of our colleagues across Indonesia and country. All of participants who join our international webinar via Zoom and YouTube channel HIPGABI. Salam HIPGABI, bersatu, berkualitas, sejahtera. Ladies and gentlemen, HIPGABI is a part professional organisasi in PPNI. HIPGABI focus on maintaining professionalism of emergency and disaster nursing services, as well as improve the body of knowledge of emergency and disaster nursing in Indonesia. The vision is unite all nurse who work in emergency and disaster nursing area both in service and education in Indonesia. Improve the quality of education, research, and services of emergency and disaster nursing, and then develop career pathway and work-related achievement of emergency and disaster nurse. COVID-19 pandemic has been happening since March 2022 for 9 months. Healthcare professionals work together to overcome this crisis, includes nurse as the backbone of health services. Emergency nurse who work in the pre-hospital and intra-hospital to keep the best services for COVID-19 patients. The improve of knowledge and skill regarding COVID-19 treatment and management is one of the efforts to make sure we keep high quality services in our patients. Role and function of emergency nursing has frontline in treating COVID-19 effect of successful and fail of the next sign within the hospital. Strategy to building resilience of emergency department nurse is really important. For instance, we conduct triage and treatment in Debriefs zone include red, yellow, and green zone for COVID-19 patients. We manage facility, staffing, reward and compensation system, as well as provide emotion and physical support, so that the services can be delivered appropriately. All of these important points will be discussed by our four distinguished speakers today. Ladies and gentlemen, this seminar I am to share strategy to building resilience of emergency departments in time of COVID-19 pandemic. Lastly, Asmen Committee and board member of HIPGABI wish you all enjoyable in this seminar. Salam HIPGABI, bersatu, berkualitas, sejahtera. Billahi taufik wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Nurse Welas Rianto, for the speech and officially open the event. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in shortly, we come to our main agenda, the webinar session of the 10th Annual Scientific Meeting of Emergency Nursing, Asmen, with the topic, Building Resiliency of Emergency Department Nurses in the Time of COVID-19 Pandemic. First to all, allow me to introduce the moderator of webinar session, Nurse Arcelia Farosyah Putri, Master of Science, Associate Fellow of the Higher Education Academy. I will read her curriculum vitae. Curriculum vitae of Nurse Arcelia Farosyah Putri. Nurse Arcelia has been passionate about emergency and disaster area. She has served and taught in these two areas. She commits to actively contribute to the development of emergency and disaster education in Indonesia and improve such service in Indonesia. She is one of the executive board of Indonesian Emergency and Disaster Nurses Association, and she is a trainer. She is a trainer for emergency nursing related training in Indonesia. She a speaker for national and international seminar, and a contributor for Indonesian emergency and disaster nursing textbook and workbook. She has worked collaboratively with Indonesian government bodies such as Ministry of Health and related international parties such as World Health Organization and Japan International Cooperation Agency, GICA, in informing policy and developing standard curriculum of training in Indonesia, especially in disaster and emergency nursing. She holds a professional qualification as an associate fellow of Higher Education Academy in the United Kingdom. She just finished her PhD defense of the University of Edinburgh and currently joins us from Scotland. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome Nurse Arcel, the moderator of webinar session. And to Nurse Arcel, time is yours.
Thank you very much, Nurse Mito. Is everyone hear me okay? Okay? Right, okay. Good morning, Mr. Nurse Abdul Rahmat Eskap MKAS, the head of Organizations Department, Indonesian National Nurses Association, Mr. Nurse Welas Rianto, MKAP SP KAP MB, the president of Indonesian Emergency and Disaster Nurses Association, Asmen Committee, HIPGABI board member, our invited speaker, sponsor, and participants. I must say that it's now 3 in the morning in Edinburgh, but my eyes wide open when looking at the curriculum vitae of our 4 distinguished speakers today. So I'm really excited to hear their presentations, and I believe we all are. Before introducing our first speaker, I'd like to inform some arrangements for the session. So the presentations will be divided into 2 panel sessions. Each panel consists of 2 speakers. I will introduce each of our speakers prior to their presentations. Questions and answer sessions will be conducted after each panel session. Participants could address the questions by sending a private message on Zoom to me, the moderator, just so I can pick up the questions easier compared to posting on public message and probably mix with other information. So please do not forget also to write down which speaker you want to address your questions. Participants could also ask directly to the speaker if they prefer to do so. Lastly, a quick note from our IT team, our dearest IT team. So the language support for those who need could be activated by clicking closed caption, the CC button. The button could be located at the bottom of the Zoom screen. Shall we continue to our first speaker then? Allow me to read the CV of our first speaker, Dr. Lai. Mr. Lenta, could you spotlight Dr. Lai video, please, so we can all see our amazing speaker on the screen?
Sudah, it's already spotlight.
Already spotlight?
Yes,
perfect.
Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you. So our first speaker is Dr. Fuchi Lai. Dr. Lai is an associate professor of College of Nursing, Taipei Medical University. Tai Sheshele, Dr. Lai, for joining us today from Taipei. I hope I pronounced the Mandarin correctly.
Yes.
Dr. Lai obtained his PhD in nursing from Kent State University in 2007. His research including integrated care, disaster, and emergency nursing. Dr. Lai has a high citations and age index for his publications in peer-reviewed journals. He has worked collaboratively with related parties on many projects, and his latest project aims for the development of Taiwanese disaster nursing nursing core competencies and preparedness assessment tool. Please welcome Dr. Lai. Dr. Lai, 25 minutes for your presentation, please.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, let me start to share my screen with you. So, can anyone see my screen now?
Yes, perfect.
Oh, okay, so now let me start my presentation. So, before...
Sorry, Dr. Lai. Yes, could you make it... Okay, yes, perfect.
Yes, okay. So now it's around 11:35 in Taiwan. So the temperature here is down to around 18 Celsius. So it's a little bit cold, and it's my pleasure to be invited to have a experience share with our Indonesian friend. Actually, I have an Indonesian student. He is on our room right now. So Andy, hello Andy. So I think he can see me somewhere. So anyway, I hope all of us stay well, stay healthy, and especially for the COVID-19. So today, my topic is how we're building the resilience of emergency department, and especially the experience, the Taiwanese experience I would like to share with you. So as you can see, this is the building of my university. So here in the middle is the Taipei 101. So this is exactly the view I see every day from my office. So my outline for today's very short talk is how we are going to use the strategies for resilience. So I propose 5 strategies that we can enhance the ER resilience. So the education, healthcare resources, and very important leadership, also communication. And related with the resilience, we must have self-efficacy, not only our nurses, our public, our patient, our family, also our government. The efficacy is very important. So in regards to resilience, there are 3 levels of resilience. They are all interrelated and they are all very important. You cannot only have your own personal resilience without organizational and systemic resilience. So from my following slide, I will share with you what kind of action plan, what kind of resilience that integrate from systemic, organizational, and personal through those 5 strategies. So first of all, I had worked in ER before in Taiwan, and then I moved to United States for my study. So I also have clinical practicum in the ER in United States. So there are some characteristics of the ER in this COVID-19 pandemic. Actually, not only the COVID-19 pandemic, all of the infectious disease and also disasters. So we are frontline care workers. So during the COVID-19 pandemic, we have increasing workload because we not only care our patients, they visit ER, we also have to provide care to those suspicious cases of COVID-19, also who has been diagnosed or who have been infected with COVID-19. So there are lots of uncertainty. When we look at the uncertainty of illness theory or other sociologist theories, uncertainty always a very important trigger and is related with the resilience. So, you know, in ER, we also have the greater risk of exposure to the infectious disease. For example, this time, the COVID-19, and we might get infected by ourselves. So I think we already have several cases reported in Indonesia. Our nurses, our doctors, they also got infected. So ER nurses our tempo for our work is very quick, very fast. So we are fast moving, but we have only very short time for recovery, or even we never recover and we still have to keep providing our care. So we always have a higher possibility to have a hidden PTSD because you have no time to think about that. But your psychological, your physiological system actually is suffering from that. So we have a higher psychological stress of those ER healthcare providers. So in the COVID-19 pandemic, we are the first one who offer care to those cases. And we are also the first one who suffer all of those from the treatment, from the society, and even from exposure and infection. So in echo to today's topic, what is resilience for ER nurses and for emergency room, for the hospital, and also for the society? I think that is why I propose the systemic, organizational, and personal resilience. So when talking about a resilient health system, there are 5 requirements. So which is this system is aware the information to be to understand and to model risk and response. So when we look at the start beginning from the COVID-19 pandemic, and even now, some country they call it second wave of the COVID-19. Do we use the information to understand that? Do we model the risk? What are the higher risk population? Where is the higher location? And do we have an epidemiology strategy to deal with that? So if the system is aware of that, this system is kind of resilient. And the system is diverse to be able to address a broad range of challenges. So when we look at the global society, right now we might have a little bit resource for the PPE, but our human resource still questionable because we have, respond to the COVID-19 for such a long time. So can we continue to with such high human resource need and PPE need in the future, 1 or 2 or even 3 years in the pandemic of the COVID-19? And the system is self-regulating. So this self-regulating will be able to contain and isolate threats. So we have several threats, not only the COVID-19 that threats our life, our economy, our education, and even our community life. That is very important. So we are able to contain it and isolate those threats that will be damage our life and our economy. So the system, if they are self-regulating, they will be able to deliver co-health service and move additional resources to other places that need it. So when we look at the ER right now in Indonesia or even in Taiwan, do we have a certain kind of protocol that we can use to deliver our care that with the balance of the prevention, detection, and the contamination of COVID-19? That will be a very important indicator for resilient healthcare system. And also the system is integrated. So we have to generate strong connection to other key partners. So let me share with you the Taiwanese experience. In Taiwan, our leader, even now for the COVID-19, is not our female president, Tsai. No, she is not the leader for this COVID-19. The leader is our Minister of Health and Well-being, and he is a dentist. He cooperates with lots of experts that includes doctors, nurses, and also telecommunication, military, our border control, and even our travel. You might feel this very interesting. Why the COVID-19 response should incorporate the travel department? Because travel is linked to border control. And also, like I have mentioned, we need to have a resilient health system. So we have to let our health care provider to travel, to relax themselves. So that's why the travel bureau, they were incorporated into our system. So we need to integrate them, our different partners and our community and agencies. Also, the system is adaptive to the change to demographic need, and also the internally displaced people, and deliberately the method for adaptation. So those are 5 key factors, and I think Taiwan is doing that pretty well right now. But if we want to back to the resilience, I think those 5 we can take it as our reference. So another one is for resilient organization. So organization can refer to some professional organization, can refer to the hospital. So how we develop the resilience? First is job design. So for example, from the beginning of the COVID-19 in Indonesia, maybe from this March, in Taiwan, we started from this January until now, they already have 1 wave that have been passed. So in response to the future 2nd wave or even the 3rd wave, do we redesign our job? Do we redesign our workflow? And also, do we already develop the organizational culture that we are very transparent? We are very transparent to all of the information, and we are very supportive that if our nurses or our doctors, they got infected, the society will not have stigma on them. So the very important, the culture, organizational culture, and organizational structure have to be redesigned to develop the resilience. And as I have mentioned, leadership, the top-down leadership is very important at all different levels. The leadership should be only one principle, that the professionals lead. Don't let the politician lead. Politician can give us support, but the healthcare providers, healthcare professionals, they should be the leader to lead us. So if you want to build up the organization, we need to have a systemic and external environment, not only your hospital, also our living environment, how we do the self-contamination, and how we do the public transportation. Those are the environment that help us to build up the organizational resilience. So there are 3 approaches to build up the resilience development. So team care. So in Indonesia, I think not only Indonesia, in Taiwan as well, we work as a team. There is never ever a hero that work alone. No, the team makes all the success. So the team care is very important. So if we want to have team care, the communication is critical. Also, we need to have a good work environment, because the good work environment can make us to have very regular status in response to the COVID-19. Also, we need to have a risk management approaches. So for example, at the beginning, we might stop the school, we might lock down the city, but the endurance is not good if we just stop the school or if we just lock down the city. So we need to manage the risk and get different approaches to those risks and in response to that. So that's the way we build up the organizational resilience. So we have a systemic resilience, organizational resilience. So how we do our personal resilience? On the left, this is the 4 approaches that is closely related with the personal resilience. First of all, social support. I heard about some stories, not only in Indonesia, also in different countries. And fortunately, in Taiwan, this did not happen a lot. We have some, in Taiwan, we have some nurses, they are infected. Also, we have some people that are infected. But through education, the government educate, or also the social media educate the public, do not have stigma on those who has been infected or even on their family, because they didn't purposely to do this. It's such an unfortunate that all of us need to work together and give them support, not stigmatize them. So the social support is very important to the personal resilience. Also, we need to have adaptability. You have to adapt yourself. For example, before you might want to breathe very fresh air, you don't want to wear a mask, but now mask is very critical to protect yourself and also protect others. So we need to have a purposefulness. So when we do everything, we think before we want to do this one. We want to make everything with some purpose because we want to have some meaning And this meaning they're all related to resilience. So after we have gone through those three approaches, we want to have confidence in our future life and our future work. So this is a personal resilience. So in personal resilience, there are three important factors that are related with the personal resilience development. First, there's a personality and individual characteristics. We know everyone is unique. So because of this uniqueness, we need to get support to them. We need to talk to them. And also, like I have mentioned, the environment, not only your work environment, your living environment, your social environment, they are also related with the resilience. And also our interaction between the person and the environment, that's also critical to the personal resilience development. So we have some action plan to build up the systemic, organizational, and personal resilience. So first of all, for personal, please maintain your health and maintain your well-being. Nurses, doctors, we work very hard, but we have to think we still have a long way to go in responding to COVID-19 pandemic. The endurance is very important. That's why the resilience is critical. So maintain your health and well-being. Also, we prioritize to develop our personal resilience and support our co-worker. If we are resilient alone, while our co-worker, they are not, we cannot work as a team. Also, we have to consider the way how we interact, how we work with our patients, our carers, and our community. So that's why I mentioned about we need to give support and reduce the stigma. So if you want to have the resilient, your personal skill, not only yourself, also our hospital can help us. So in Taiwan, the government, every day we have lots of TV advertisement, tell you some information and also give you some information for travel, for self-protection, and also we have some like a live concert. So they ask everyone, you wear a mask and you can join some live concert. Why? Because we want to keep our personal well-being. So in addition to those 4 action plans, finally we need to think. We want to develop the health systems thinking by making strong network across the system. So the reason why Taiwan today, we have a little bit success in responding to COVID-19 because we have very good system, which is our national health insurance system. But this system also needs lots of people to have adherence to our regulation that will make our personal action plan work. So in addition to personal action plan, we have organizational action plan. So first of all, we need to ensure the PPE for healthcare staff. Not only the healthcare staff, our whole country, everyone need to ensure we have enough PPE. Also, we need to support each other for health and well-being. So the hospital in Taiwan, we provide lots of support. We have some, invite some speaker to give us some speech that enhance our psychological well-being. Also, the hospital have some support. For example, they give them some money to support them to have a travel. And of course, we have to balance the safety and travel. So we only allow, the Taiwanese government only allow the healthcare provider to travel inside the Taiwan. We cannot go to any other country unless you have some emergency need and you have to apply in advance. So we also need to provide employees with learning opportunity. That's why I said at the beginning, education is one of the strategy to enhance our resilience. Also, we need to ensure the system of critical incident review. So we have to review again the SOP when we respond to the future infectious disease, because as I mentioned, we are now experiencing the first wave, and some countries already moved to second wave and third wave. The SOP shouldn't be all the same. They should be revised in response to what resource you have. So we want to establish a disaster plan that we take it as a disaster. So last to the system action plan, we need to establish like a PPE, which I have mentioned from organizational. So the government, they need to be sure everyone have enough PPE. Also, we have the properly plan and manage, implement the health workforce. I believe right now the nurses in Indonesia, especially in ER, everyone must be very exhausted. Why? Because we keep working, but do we have enough time to recover from those exhaustion? And the government, they should have some plan for workforce, and also need to have some plan to enhance the recovery of our nurses. That's why I mentioned about the hidden PTSD. So we want to, the government or the system want to accelerate the move from a domain illness focused system to the health promotion. So as I think as our host or the moderator has mentioned at the beginning, that we might have a 1 year, 2 year, or 3 more years to go in response to COVID-19. So the endurance have to be very important. So our focus have to switch from focus on the disease to the health promotion. So we need to ensure the resilience planning. So in Taiwan, today is November 28. So our restriction on wearing PPE is a little bit loose right now. But from December 1st, the Taiwanese government, they will have a new policy. We will have as strict as before policy. Everyone enter 8 kind of the places or environment, they are mandated to wear a mask. And also we will have some strategy that is revised strategy to prevent the second wave of the COVID-19. So the system, the government, they are doing that. So they want to engage nurses at the policy level to the optimal use of nursing skill. So I think finally, when we talk about resilience, so what is the resilience in ER? I think the resilience contains general health, psychologically and physiologically. Also, we have a hope, because I believe everyone might always ask your friend, ask yourself, when we can go to other country for travel, when I don't need to wear the mask at all. But there's always a hope. Let's work together. And we need to have a coping. And this coping is how we adapt ourselves and also the self-efficacy. If you have a higher self-efficacy, you will increase your hope. So you will also have a mental health continuum. That's why I keep mentioning about the well-being of psychological and the support from the psychological support. So if we all work together, we will have a strong sense of coherence. That is also related with the resilience. So I think I hope we can be as optimistic as possible. So let's have a higher optimism to believe during the COVID-19, if we have general health, we have a hope with the self-efficacy and the mental health continuous, we are going to have a better resilience in the future. So finally, that will be the end of my experience share. In the future challenge, we might have some directions that we need to think about. First is adoption of the digital technologies. As I have mentioned, the key to Taiwanese success today is we have a very good infrastructure of our national health insurance system that link all of our information, in especially health informatics, together. So we can integrate this system to our border control, to our financing, to our travel, to our customer control, and also our healthcare. So I think in the future, we should adapt the digital technology. For example, for system, we can use the digital governance. Personal, you can check the cell phone and the national health insurance card to report your status. Second direction is demonstrating quality and impact. So, we don't want to sacrifice our quality of care just because we have to respond to COVID-19. We need to balance that. So we need to minimize the impact and still maintain the quality of care. So how we do that, the system's leadership is very important. That's why I keep talking about that the professionals lead our response. Don't let the politician lead it. Politicians, they can give us some support. I think this is the exactly experience we have in Taiwan. And also the health literacy for the public. we not only educate our nurses, not only educate our doctors, we have to educate the public. If they realize the importance of the wash their hand, wearing the mask, and also be transparent to report their own symptoms if they are infected, that will be very key factors to build up the future resilience. So finally, no matter what time, no matter what kind of infectious disease, the self-efficacy is very important, and that can be enhanced by the education and can be facilitated by our leadership. So I think that will be the end of the experience, what we have done in Taiwan and what I propose for the future direction. And I hope everyone in Indonesia, you stay healthy and stay well. And I hope one day in the very soon future, you can visit Taiwan and I can visit Indonesia, which I love very much. Last year, I went to the UGM, and I also went to some university. I really like the people there. I hope all of us maintain resilience and stay healthy. Thank you very much for listening to my speech. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Lai, for an insightful presentations. I'm really interested in the framework you propose to build resilience. The strategy cover every important aspect of resilience, including micro, middle, and macro level. So may I remind the participants, participants can start to post questions on Zoom message privately to the moderator or publicly if you prefer, and I will read.
I'm fine in either way. I think post that to the public would be better, that everyone can see the question and they might have the same thought.
Sure, okay. And also if the participants prefer to post in Bahasa, then I will translate it into English and then we'll read the questions. And please do not forget to also write down to which speaker you want to address your questions, please. Okay, so shall we move on then to our second speaker? Mr. Lenta, could you pin Miss Emma Brokenshire, please? So we could again see our amazing speaker on the screen. Let me know. Been. Okay, it's okay, perfect.
Yeah, all ready for me to start?
Oh, okay. Okay, so our next speaker is an amazing practitioner from our neighbor country, Australia, Miss Emma Brokenshire. Miss Emma Brokenshire has years of experience as a registered nurse in emergency departments. She contributes to the development of policies in the emergency department. She also undertakes the role as a learning and development coordinator that responsible for developing and delivering various education program and training, as well as quality improvement activities at Calvary Wakefield, Adelaide, Australia. She said that she enjoys learning and challenging herself. Oh yes, definitely. I can see from the list of academic and professional qualification here on her CV. Amazing nurse. So for instance, she is certified in IV training and assessments. Miss Emma is currently in her final year of Master in Emergency Nursing. She has always had an interest in pediatric nursing and aiming to become a proficient pediatric emergency nurse for her next long-term goal. So please welcome Miss Emma. Miss Emma, 25 minutes for your presentations, please.
Yes, thank you. I am just going to share my screen here if I can. Let's have a look. Is that sharing for everybody?
Perfect.
You can see that? Okay, wonderful. Yes. Okay, so my name's Emma Brokenshire. I'm coming to you from Adelaide in South Australia, Australia. It's currently 40 degrees Celsius here today. It's very hot and windy and it's about to start raining, they tell me. So it's not great here today. I've been asked to come and talk to you about the Australian perspective of building resilience of emergency nurses during the COVID-19 pandemic. So you heard a bit about me. So I've been an emergency nurse for about 10 years now. I've just got, final word, I've passed all my things. So I've completed my master's in emergency nursing now. And I've done a Certificate 4 in training and assessment, and I've also completed a course on hospital major incident medical management and support, so that explores planning and training for major incidents and disasters such as pandemics. And I currently work across both the private and the public sectors in Australia, which is really nice. It enables me to get a really unique perspective on things as a learning and development coordinator and as a registered nurse. So I develop educational resources, participate in quality improvement in the emergency department, and I also work clinically in emergency departments. I spend the majority of my time at Calvary Adelaide Hospital. It's the largest private hospital in South Australia. It's got a total of 344 inpatient beds and the state's only 24-hour private emergency department. It specialises in adult cardiac, orthopaedic, neurological, general surgery, has a level 3 intensive care unit and both inpatient and outpatient rehabilitation services. I spend the rest of my time working in the paediatric emergency department of the Women's and Children's Hospital. So the Women's and Children's is a public hospital with 295 inpatient beds. It's the only major paediatric hospital in South Australia. It offers paediatric medical, surgical and mental health services, as well as obstetric and gynecological services. So like I said, working across both the public and the private sector, I get a really unique view on everything. And I've been exposed to different organisations and the different approaches to COVID-19 management. So you can see here on the right is Calvary Adelaide and on the left is the Women's and Children's. Since the first recorded case of COVID-19 in Australia, which was the 19th of January this year, we've had a total of 784 cases and 907 deaths, COVID-related deaths. So the Australian government, led by the Prime Minister under the advice of the Health Minister, has been really quick in reacting. We've closed interstate and international borders. We've restricted travel, closed businesses, and in some states, including South Australia, we've had enforced periods of total lockdown. As the pandemic has changed and case numbers have fluctuated, so have the restrictions have been put in place by the government. Currently, some of the state borders have reopened and travel between New Zealand and Australia is currently being re-established. South Australia is also accepting returning citizens from overseas, and the government is facilitating 2 weeks of quarantine for those people to reduce the spread of COVID-19 in the community. COVID-19 has greatly affected the healthcare community in Australia, as you can imagine, putting strain on the resources and the staff. Despite the challenges that we've had through this pandemic, frontline workers, specifically emergency nurses, have been able to unite and kind of push through these challenges. To explore how COVID-19 has impacted building the resilience of emergency nurses in Australia, I've been asked to discuss the triage process, any reward and compensation systems, nursing staffing, considerations, and any available emotional and psychosocial supports. So I'm going to kind of discuss my own experiences with you and give you examples of what measures have been put in place with the onset of COVID-19 here to help build that resilience. All right. So when we explore how COVID-19 has impacted the triage process in Australia, it's important to reflect on how the role of triage was before COVID-19. So we use the Australasian triage scale. It's a 5-tiered scale that prioritises patients by the urgency of medical care required, which is similar to triage scales all across the world. The 2 hospitals where I work have a supernumerary senior nurse allocated to that role every shift, 24 hours a day. They're responsible for sorting through every patient that presents to that emergency department on their shift. Their role involves the triaging, retriaging, monitoring of patients in the waiting room and allocating patients to appropriate areas of the ED. When COVID-19 reached Australia, the triage process didn't change. So patients were still sorted according to their 5-tiered scale, but we added additional screening questions and precautions to highlight potential COVID patients to ensure that they were managed, isolated immediately, managed appropriately, and ultimately to reduce the spread of infection to us and to the rest of the community. So screening questions were asked of every patient and visitor on entering the hospital, both hospitals, and again by the triage nurse. They aimed to identify if a person had been to any COVID hotspots, if they were displaying any COVID symptoms, or if they'd been in close personal contact of anyone who was a confirmed case of COVID. So if we had an individual present, they'd answered all their COVID screening questions and they're deemed either high or low risk for COVID-19 based on an epidemiological and clinical criteria. To be deemed high risk, they needed to have both of those. So they need to have clinical symptoms and the epidemiological criteria met. All the patient and visitor details are recorded by the triage nurse as they go through this process in case contact tracing is required. Unfortunately, it does slow down the triage process and create a little bit more paperwork, which we all love. If at triage a patient is identified as nil or low risk for COVID-19, they're managed as per the normal processes at both Calvary Adelaide and the Women's and Children's. They're directed to the waiting room until a bed space becomes available for the patient's medical assessment. If the patient is identified as a high risk for COVID-19, the process does change depending on which hospital you are in, but they still align with the state and national government recommendations. So if we look at Calvary Adelaide, Calvary Adelaide is considered a COVID-free or a clean hospital in South Australia. Therefore, any patients who are at high risk of COVID-19 and are medically stable are provided with a face mask, asked to go in a private car via the most direct route to the nearest public hospital. And there are major public hospitals that have been allocated as dirty hospitals or COVID hospitals to kind of contain that spread. Any patients who present to Calvary Adelaide who are at high risk for COVID-19 and are significantly unwell or are at risk of deteriorating are presented with a face mask and directed to an isolation room within the emergency department for immediate treatment. Once they have been stabilised, they're then transferred to the closest COVID hospital in an ambulance with a specially trained ambulance crew. All the staff within Calvary Adelaide that work on triage and would respond to these patients have had additional training on how to manage COVID-19 and have been instructed not to proceed with any life-saving interventions until appropriate PPE has been applied. The Women's and Children's Hospital has again provided that similar training and requires the same use of PPE prior to manage potential COVID-19 patients. However, when a patient presents to the Women's and Children's or another dirty or COVID hospital, they're managed at that hospital rather than being transferred to another facility. If they meet high risk criteria for COVID, patients are provided with a face mask at the Women's and Children's and directed to a secondary waiting room, an isolation waiting room. The triage nurse then alerts the staff within the emergency department that there is a potential COVID-19 patient in the waiting room without raising concern amongst other patients there. We then have an allocated infectious nurse who will come and collect the patient and take them into a secondary isolation room for management. So regardless of whether a patient presents to Calvary Adelaide Hospital, the Women's and Children's or another public hospital, they're still subject to the same screening process and isolated accordingly. It's used across these processes across all the major EDs in South Australia, ensuring the rapid isolation of suspected cases. As I said, the triage process itself has not changed, but extra steps have been added to that process. It's aided in maintaining these comparatively small numbers that we have here in South Australia. And it also makes nursing staff more at ease when caring for patients, knowing that they've been through this screening process. And when I reflect on reward and compensation systems, it's very obvious to me that we don't have a formal reward and compensation system in place. However, across both the public and private sectors, it's been clearly identified that when staff feel valued and engaged, there is an increased output, better patient care. All of our staff are, of course, paid for their time, which is ideal. It's why lots of people come to work. But through times of stress, overwhelming patient presentation numbers, and specifically during this COVID-19 pandemic, frequent emails have been sent to staff thanking them for their efforts from the executive level. Publicly recognised congratulations have also been put into place at Calvary Adelaide. So we display positive feedback from patients, and executive staff have also been visible in providing face-to-face recognition. Staff have also been really lucky, been gifted with small items such as little sunflower seeds from local community clubs, and local businesses have been forward in showing their appreciation to frontline healthcare workers by donating little goods such as coffee or pizzas or hand creams, which has been really lovely and a really positive thing for the staff working in those environments. The government and private organisations such as Calvary Healthcare have also supported the implementation of pandemic leave. This leave has been created to allow staff who are experiencing COVID symptoms, are required to self-isolate at the request of the government, or have tested positive to COVID-19 to take paid leave without using their own accrued leave. So this encourages staff to stay home when unwell and to prevent that spread. When a staff member does isolate from home, there's also support from hospital executive staff, making regular phone calls and providing support where that's needed. Calvary have also identified the importance of recognising staff achievements and satisfaction by conducting a recent Gallup survey to establish ways to improve staff satisfaction. So across Australia, government and private organisations recognise International Emergency Nurses Day with a combination of the public praise and the occasional small gesture from the community. And despite the lack of formal reward and compensation systems that we have in place, staff are regularly praised for their efforts, especially during this time. And the importance has been highlighted once again to that executive team during this pandemic. Since the COVID-19 pandemic reached Australia, a number of provisions have been implemented for Australian emergency nurses. These provisions have been made to provide the best care to the public and safety to healthcare staff. At Women's and Children's, the extended care unit of the emergency department was transformed into a paediatric isolation unit, and 10 extra beds were also opened, funded by the state government, as additional isolation spaces. Nurse to patient ratios within the ED have not changed. However, as bed numbers and patient numbers have increased, the number of nursing and medical staff has also increased. Each shift has dedicated nurses allocated to the paediatric infectious units. Nursing staff are provided with a separate set of scrubs when they're working in that infectious unit to be left at the hospital to ensure nothing is spread to the outside. Dedicated equipment has been provided for that area, and dedicated education prior to working in that area has also been provided. As Calvary Adelaide remains a COVID-free hospital, the emergency was not as significantly modified to allow for COVID-19 patients. However, provisions were still taken to ensure adequate staff preparedness. So a dedicated bed space has been allocated for deteriorating patients suspected of COVID-19 with an individualised resuscitation and difficult intubation trolleys. And the staff will, once again, were re-educated on the correct donning and doffing techniques and the appropriate use of PPE. Calvary have implemented a COVID-19 management plan with specifics on the ED management. So this includes minimising the number of staff caring for that patient, a change in the allocation of nursing roles during resuscitation, and additional steps in the intubation process to minimise that aerosol exposure. Quick and clear guides of this have been made accessible in that bed space for staff to be able to use. EDs across South Australia have taken similar approaches by quarantining a number of beds for COVID patients. Many of the COVID entrances are separate to the major entrances to the hospital, as well as to prevent that spread. We've been very, very lucky here that we haven't really had a limit on our access to PPE. As the international borders closed, and lots of local businesses were shut down, these companies changed what they were doing, and they actually produced hospital-grade PPE that they made available to healthcare facilities and to the public. And so by doing that, we've really had unlimited access to that, which has been amazing. The Australian Resuscitation Council has also recommended that nurses and other healthcare professionals don't care for patients or respond to deteriorating patients with potential COVID-19 until they're in adequate PPE. So it's just about, once again, maintaining that staff safety before responding. Both of the hospitals where I work have made the wearing of masks mandatory when there are active cases of COVID-19 in the community. The wearing of masks is mandatory not only for staff, but for any visitors to the hospital as well. The safety of the healthcare staff working in EDs has been a priority for healthcare organisations across Australia. To provide staff with emotional and psychosocial supports, both private and public sectors use an employee assistance program. This program, it's available to all healthcare staff and their close family members as well. It's an anonymous counselling service that can be utilised by staff at the cost of the organisation. So they can use it for a range of reasons, but that has been made readily available to all staff. Calvary Adelaide ED has also emphasised the importance of staff debriefs after major incidents. But since COVID-19 has come around, debriefs are conducted at the end of every shift. So they involve staff and the management staff to reflect on the outgoing shift, address any concerns, ask any questions, and provide support when required. Regular follow-up with clinical managers and educators is also arranged as required or requested following a debrief. So if anyone does have those major concerns, there are lots of different avenues that the hospital have put in place for them to take to ensure that their mental wellbeing is being met. Extra comforts have also been provided for Calvary Adelaide, little creature comforts, I suppose, while people are working those long shifts. So the addition of a new outdoor staff only area, so you can actually go out, breathe the fresh air, just kind of relax and wind down in between those shifts or in meal breaks. There's also a new dedicated sleep area for staff to unwind during those shift breaks as well. So hopefully staff are kind of getting a really holistic approach despite COVID. Staff across sites have also created social media pages for them to access to keep in contact. People share funny stories or they want to swap a shift, but it's a good way for people not to support each other, not only as colleagues, but as friends as well. And it's been really nice to see, even during this time, people celebrating, people's birthdays and those sorts of things and having babies, because that all is still happening. So a reminder that other things are still happening has been really good. COVID-19 has obviously raised many challenges for healthcare workers. Healthcare organisations across Australia have endeavoured to support healthcare workers throughout this time. Many processes, such as triage, have remained the same, with just additional steps added to ensure the maximum safety for emergency workers, other patients and the public. The importance of recognition for motivation has become more apparent to executive level staff, as has the ability of staff and organisations to adapt to a constantly changing situation. EDs are now better equipped to flex with the increasing and decreasing numbers of COVID. There's a lot of work to be done before we have zero community transmission in Australia, but I think there's been extraordinary efforts made by frontline healthcare workers and the government to ensure the safety of the public and reduce the spread of COVID-19 here in Australia. So thank you for having me as one of your speakers today. I'm very honoured to be here, and I hope we've been helpful in some way.
Thank you, Emma. It's really interesting, but I'm really fascinated with how your institutions or Australia carries out emotional and psychosocial support, especially staff comfort and the use of social media. That's quite quite new for me, at least. Right, okay. So for our questions and answer sessions, I will read the questions first posted on the private chat to me. And then later on, I will invite participants who wish to ask directly to our speaker. So there is one question here for Dr. Lai.
Yep.
So I will translate it into Indonesia. So the question is how we could improve self-efficacy in the society, in the community, while the cases of the COVID-19 is still rising.
Okay, so I think thanks for this question. I think this is very important and a critical question. So let me share with you with the Taiwanese experience. The self-efficacy, this means you have higher or you have enough knowledge, appropriate attitude, and also you prepare yourself to interact with something by yourself. So how we can do this? That's why I keep mentioning about education. So in Taiwan, the government, excuse me, the government, we have advertisement in different way, even the social media, even our president, she used the IG, Twitter. So she posts some information. Those information was suggested by our leader for the COVID-19. So the leaders of COVID-19 actually is the Ministry of Health and Well-being. They suggest some idea, some interaction, even some SOP. So the president in her Facebook, IG, Twitter, to disseminate those information. So the Taiwanese people, we listen to that. We use social media. So we got those information. There's a kind of self-education to increase our self-efficacy. Also, another important is a trust. So our people, the Taiwanese people, we trust our government. Let me give you example of the surgical mask. So in Taiwan, at the beginning of the January, we do not have enough surgical mask. So the Taiwanese government, we stop exporting the surgical mask to any other country. You cannot get any surgical mask out from Taiwan to any other country. Why? Because we want to make sure the Taiwanese people, we have enough surgical mask for everyone. So you might ask, how we make sure everyone can get the surgical mask that include the child in the kindergarten. So we use the National Health Insurance System to make sure everyone, you bring your NHI card to the pharmacy, to the convenience store. Once you swipe your card, they will know who are you, and they give you the mask to make sure you are safe. So this is the way we trust our government. And education, the trust, also democracy and the information transparency are very important to enhance the self-efficacy to Taiwanese people. So this is the example. So right now, we might face the second wave. Again, we need to make sure everyone have enough information and we have very strong adherence to this SOP or to the policy. And how we can make it? Because I have strong enough self-efficacy. So I'm confident, I trust the government, and also I trust myself to follow the guideline. So that would be the way we can build up the resilience and we can build up the self-efficacy. So this is a very short experience we have done and we are doing in Taiwan right now.
Thank you, Dr. Lai. Hopefully, the persons who asked the questions could clearly hear what Dr. Lai say. And if there is another questions, please post it to me so I can directly address the questions to Dr. Lai. Okay, another questions for Dr. Lai. So, hello, Dr. Lai. Thank you very much for your presentations. This is me
Yes,
reading.
I know. You are translating that.
Yeah.
That's no problem.
She actually use English. So, Dr. Lai, could you please give an example case where system is adaptive apply in the real life setting in Taiwan? Because I'm really amazed on how Taiwan can reach zero local transmission so fast. It's true. So thank you.
Okay, so let me give you the example for myself. So I'm an associate professor, so I still have to do the clinical practicum with my student. So my term is 10 weeks. Each term is 5 weeks and 3 days a week. So this means I have 15 days, one term. So I have continuous 2 terms. When I did this clinical practicum, which is this year, February until May. So I have 10 weeks and then I need to bring my student. So at the beginning, our student and their family, they are very worried because the unit, I have my student with the clinical practicum. They are infected cases of COVID-19. Can you believe this happened in Indonesia? Unbelievable. In Taiwan, okay. That's why we balance the risk and we balance the students' right for education. So we make the SOP. So for example, at the beginning, all of my students, they have to check their TOCC. They have to report this information to the hospital. So TOCC, which is travel, exposure, contact, cluster, occupational. So we have this information, that including mine. And also we have to check our health status and body temperature twice a day. Every day before I enter the hospital, I check one time. Then before I enter the unit. And every day after I finish, before I return back to the university, I have to check. So those are the SOP. And you might curious, who suggests this SOP? Our Ministry of Health and Wellbeing. So because not only my university, all of the medical school, college of nursing, they have to continue their clinical practicum. So we want to balance that. So we have a very clear policy. The government, they use lots of experts to come out this guideline. And they not only do the top down, we also do the bottom up. So when they give us the policy, we have to look the possibility, whether it is workable or not. So after that, we think, okay, this is workable. So that's why we continue to work on the policy and we can balance our life, our education, and also the school, the education, the Ministry of Health, we cooperate together. So this is exactly example. And I forgot mention one thing. In Taiwan, we want to do the clinical practicum. Hospital, they are also have some concern. So they follow the split operation. This means each nurse only care one area, and this nurse never switch to other area until she finish her work turn to next turn. So my student also follow the nurse. They also follow the split operation, and we also limit the visit. So at that time, when we have the high tide of the pandemic of COVID-19, we limit the visitor to the hospital. We only allow one visitor of one bed to visit their family 1 hour per day. So we want to try all of the way to block the way the virus might disseminate it. And as I have mentioned, the government, they have done lots of tracks to your cell phone, to the community system. So I think this is example how we do the self-efficacy. And as I have mentioned, in the clinical side, how we cooperate together. Then I hope my answer can give you some insightful.
It's really insightful. Yes, it's really insightful, Dr. Lai. So thank you.
Yeah,
thank you. Another questions for Emma. Let me try to translate it for you, Emma.
Thank you.
So, okay. So in your country or in your institution, could you please share? So nurses has family. So do your institutions or your country have any resilience strategy or any resilience in the context of social that included family of the nurses in your strategy? If yes, could you share your experience, please?
There's nothing at this stage that's been put in place to include family. It's more been in terms of social interactions. And I think that's mainly because in South Australia, our community spread has been very limited. So there hasn't been a restriction of how, time spent with your family. I'm sure if you are isolating at home, they have put restrictions on, they've discussed that if you're isolating at home, you isolate to your room and that one room to stop that spread between families. But in terms of provisions for families and nursing staff, there has been nothing formal put in place.
Okay. Right. Thank you. So I'm starting to get a lot of questions here, but some of them are similar. So I try to merge them into one. So one questions for both speaker, Miss Emma and Dr. Lai. Could you share about personal protective equipment in Australia and Taiwan? Are you using gown or coverall within the COVID area? When you use gown and when you use coverall? If you could share.
So do you mean when we're using PPE and when we're not? Is that...
The PPE is specific for gown, hazmat, and coverall. When you use those two, in what kind of cases?
Okay. So in Australia, when we interact with any patient that's got respiratory symptoms, and specifically with COVID, we are using a gown, a long-sleeved gown with gloves, a face mask and goggles or a face shield. If we are doing aerosol generating procedures, we are using an N95 mask or something of that grade. But for general care of those people, we're just using a surgical mask with the other provisions, with the gown and the gloves.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Is that what you're asking?
Yes, it's clear. Yes, it's what. Hopefully, if the persons want to clarify, please send a message to me, please. Okay. So, another questions. Hello, I'm Zawana from International Islamic University, Malaysia. I have a questions. Any speaker can answer. How do you treat patients with critical mental illness like PSTD or depressions if they or their relative have COVID-19? Do they have any specific treatment or something that we need to be careful of when handling with them? So
okay, let me answer this question. So there are two situations. First of all, do you mean when we send a patient to ER, or you mean we treat the patient in the hospital inside? There are two different situations. Let me talk about the first situation in ER. So in ER, we use the same strategy, like when we screen the patient. And then we also have the psych nurse. They also help them. And very important, the psych nurse also have to receive the same level of strategy to self-protection and also to do the treatment. But the psych nurse, the psychological nurse, doesn't need to learn how to do the screening because we have other health care provider to do the screening. So she has to learn, the psych nurse has to learn how to wear the PPE to deal with the patient. That's in the ER. So in the unit, that's the same thing. They just use the whatever regular way they treat the patient. But again, I have mentioned, they have to wear the PPE. So they talk to the patient with the PPE. But we have some alternative because sometimes we can do the face-to-face talk. But if the case they are confirmed about their infection, we might use some like the camera, or we can use some isolated window to talk to them for the prevention. So I think there's an alternative, but maybe the outcome is not as good as what we used to be. But we have to prioritize what is most important at the time. If at the beginning, the most important is to protect each other from infection, maybe we can do that. But later on, if we are sure the infection has been controlled, we might let the nurses to wear the PPE and to talk to the patient. Or the patient also have to wear the surgical mask to prevent spread out the virus in the space or to other patients. So that's my suggestion. And also I want to answer one question I saw from the Malaysia.
Okay,
I think this Sharon, I think this lady, I saw your question about the second wave of the staff exhaustion. So that's why we have this conference today. Resilience is very important. Never ever wait until the end, then we talk about resilience. Resilience have to build up any moment. So that's why recovery is very important. So in Taiwan, when we start to have the COVID-19, we realized that we learned a very painful lesson from SARS in 2003. At the time, Taiwan suffered really a lot. I have a friend, they died, their nurses, they died. So we learned that the psychological well-being is very, very critical for the longer endurance of our healthcare provider. So I suggest in Malaysia, you have to reorganize your healthcare resource. I think they have asked the same question to Emma, and Emma have given very good explanation. Our nursing workforce. Also, the government need to increase the workforce that along with the training. Don't let the hospital to work on this one alone because they will fail. The government. So that's why in Taiwan, our government give us the support from the government level. They also ask the hospital, do you need anything? We need to reallocate your human resource, especially for nurses and doctors. And we give them break time because only you have a break time, you can continue to work. Otherwise, you can work for only very short time, then you collapse. And our Minister of the Health and Well-being in Taiwan, he is alumni. He graduated from Taipei Medical University Dental School. He said one thing, if our nurses and doctors collapse, Taiwan collapse. So please, everyone, keep that in your mind. You have to maintain your self-well-being. Otherwise, our country will collapse. Without that, our country cannot continue. Everyone will suffer. So this is the final answer I want to give to the Malaysia. You work from hospital level, personal level, and even to the government level. If nurses have any voice, they can talk to the government. Tell them, run, don't wait. Resilience is every moment. It's not at the end of a period of time. So this is the suggestion I want to give to Malaysia, and I hope Malaysia can also stay well, especially your healthcare providers. Thank you. This is my answer to the lady in Malaysia.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah,
that
sure,
okay?
Emma,
sure, Emma. Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
An initiative that our government put in place, which was amazing of them. When we had the first wave of COVID come through, all of our elective surgeries stopped, which meant there were abundance of nurses and medical staff that didn't have work. So our government actually put in place a rapid, very short course to upskill these people in specific areas so that they could come and work on lower acute patients in intensive care units or in the emergency department looking after specific things. So that workforce could actually be brought in to release the pressure on some of the emergency staff and ICU staff as well.
Really agree. I was just thinking, oh my God, this is so complex. Really complex. Right, okay. I'm really sorry. There is still a lot of questions, but we are slightly behind the schedule. And let me work on the time, and if we still have time at the end, so maybe we could add more questions. So to conclude the first panel sessions, this session highlight that resilience should be leveled up from personal to organizational and even wider systemic strategy. And these three levels, from personal to the systemic strategy, should work in synchronize in responding to COVID-19 so that we can create resilience through emergency nurses workforce. So this is the end of the first panel sessions. Thank you very much once again for Dr. Lai and Miss Emma for such a great presentations. I hope you both could still join us until the end.
Yeah.
But if you both have any urgent, so please. I will now let Nurse Mito to let the next activity. So
okay, so before the end, I would like to say, whoever, if you have a question, I hope that our association, you can accumulate those information and you can send to us. I would like to
Yeah.
get back to
Okay.
them even we
Okay.
finish that the speech, and I want to make sure everyone your answer can get a very good suggestion from us, and I really
Oh,
wish that.
perfect.
Thank you very
Perfect.
much.
If you both don't mind.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Oh,
Correct
thank you.
the question and send to me, and I would like to answer to all of them. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, okay, I will let Nurse Mito to lead the activities, please.
Okay, thank you, Nurse Arsal, for leading the first session of the webinar. Great session. My greatest gratitude to the speaker too, Mr. Lai and Miss Emma. Thank you so much for the sharing and presentation. For the sharing knowledge and experience regarding the management of emergency department during pandemic in Taipei and South Australia. Thank you, Mr. Lai and Miss Emma. In shortly, I would like to invite the representative of Mindre Corporation Indonesia, Mr. Wansu Suzino Eskop, for presenting about the basic life support equipment. Mr. Wansu, you have 50 minutes to present your presentation. Mr. Wansu, now your time.
Please unmute Mr. Wansu.
Mr. Eri, please unmute Mr. Wansu.
So please unmute yourself. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much for the committee. I would like anyone can hear my voice?
Yes, it's clear.
Yes, about my slide, it's already showing also. All right, thank you very much for such a kind, very pleasant opportunity. We are Mandre to participate in this annual scientific meeting, emergency nursing, conducted by the HIPGABI or Iedna. This is my name is Wansu Zosino. By the background, I'm also a nursing before. I was working in the emergency environment before about 8 years in the Middle East. I was working in the ambulance before. So this emergency things that I think by participating this morning, I have reminding again what I have done in the past. I'm very glad to be here. Since this, most of the participants are Indonesian, I would like to share my presentation in the Indonesian. However, my presentation will be in English. Baik, terima kasih. Saya akan mulai. Saya Wansu, kembali lagi saya dari Mandre. Ini adalah foto perusahaan kami, kantor perusahaan kami berada di pusat kota Shenzhen, di mana pada hari ngambil foto ini sangat cerah sekali. Dan sekarang kita tahu bahwa di negara yang dulunya pandemi sekarang sudah sangat, mereka sudah bisa mengatasi COVID-19. Hari ini saya akan sharing mengenai patient monitor dan life support, the fights against COVID-19. beberapa tantangan yang kita hadapi pada masa pandemik ini, kemudian bagaimana Mandre mencoba membantu rekan-rekan tenaga kesehatan dan masyarakat khususnya dalam menghadapi masa pandemi ini. Kemudian saya akan mencoba menjelaskan sedikit tentang produk kami, Banner D3 dan D6, kemudian kesimpulan. Baik, saya mulai dengan apa sih tantangan kita di emergency medical system. Ya, ini saya contoh ambil salah satu kasus ya, mungkin kayak sudden cardiac arrest gitu ya. Sebetulnya banyak kasus-kasus yang lain. Nah, ini saya ambil satu sudden cardiac arrest di mana kalau pasien mengalami nyeri dada gitu atau STEMI gitu, kemudian kecepatan dalam melakukan tindakan itu sangat menentukan keberhasilan dari suatu pasien itu. Nah, beberapa penelitian dari AHA mengatakan bahwa setiap keterlambatan pemberian debrilasi dan obat-obatan akan menurunkan kesempatan orang itu untuk hidup 7-10%. Begitupun sejalan dengan IRC 2015 mengatakan setiap delay pemberian debrilasi juga mengurangi probabilitas untuk survival sampai 10%. Nah, apa sih produk yang mandiri di dalam emergency solution? Kita punya dua tipe, yang mulai dari yang pre-hospital, kemudian ada intra-hospital. Pre-hospital umumnya kita mempunyai namanya PHIS, atau Pre-Hospital Emergency Information System. Kemudian, dan ini semua daftar alat ada manual, external defibrillator, automatic external defibrillator, patient monitor, infusion pump, dan etc. Apa itu PHIS? Saya akan coba menjelaskan sedikit mengenai PHIS, yaitu adalah Pre-Hospital Emergency Information System, di mana transfer pasien data dari ambulans ke PHIS server, di mana PHIS server itu bisa berada di ruangan emergency di rumah sakit ataupun berada di emergency medical system center, misalkan kayak kita 118 atau 19 dengan beberapa center emergency. Kemudian rumah sakit atau receiving facility ini menerima data sebelum pasien itu datang ke rumah sakit atau ke fasilitas, sehingga ini menggunakan teknologi berdasarkan basis teknologi 4G teknologi. Kita ambil contoh bagaimana sih itu bekerja. Contoh kasus STEMI tadi membutuhkan EKG 12 lead. Kemudian tentu tantangan kita adalah bagaimana kita memberikan effective life support. Kemudian kita juga bagaimana menginformasikan ke clinician yang jaga supaya informasi kita lakukan tepat. Kemudian rumah sakit mana yang kita tuju untuk membawa pasien ini agar mendapatkan treatment yang tepat. Dan ini hal-hal yang, nah dengan PHIS, misalkan ambulans kita ditelepon di satu rumah sakit, kemudian ambulans kita merespon ke onsite, kemudian dilengkapi dengan fasilitas defibrillator, kemudian dengan pasien monitor, dan beberapa equipment emergency lainnya. Ketika pasien itu dipasangkan dengan D6 defibrillator, kemudian kita pasang EKG 12 lead, pasang vital sign-nya, secara menggunakan teknologi 4G disampaikan ke PHIS server penerima, bisa di rumah sakit tadi di MS Center. Nah, di sini para dokter yang standby atau rumah sakit yang jaga di emergency ataupun di emergency medical center tadi bisa langsung menerima data yang dari ambulans sebelum pasien itu datang ke rumah sakit. Bahkan bisa juga data ini direlay ke mobile viewer di remote, misalkan di mobile phone. Kemudian dokternya mungkin sedang tidak jaga di emergency, kemudian sedang di ruangan lain, dia tetap bisa mendapatkan data informasi dari pasien ini. Kemudian sehingga PHIS memberikan data yang secara konsisten kepada rumah sakit, maka dokter bisa memberikan diagnosa sebelum pasien itu datang, sehingga mereka bisa menyiapkan persiapan tindakan yang akan dilakukan ketika pasien datang, bahkan menyiapkan tim operasi, menyiapkan kamar operasi dan sebagainya. Juga bahkan rumah sakit juga bisa, oh ini tidak bisa di rumah sakit yang ini, harus dibawa ke rumah sakit yang lain. Itu juga bisa dilakukan sebelum pasien itu datang ke satu rumah sakit. Itulah cara kerja dari PHIS system. Nah, dan untuk kasus-kasus lainnya yang kasus mungkin trauma atau kasus mungkin COVID-19, mungkin kasus yang lainnya, yang tidak memerlukan kita pasang defibrillator, kita juga pasang dengan pasien monitor. Yang pasien monitor ini juga bisa kita lengkapi dengan Wi-Fi system yang tersambung, bisa disambungkan langsung ke rumah sakit juga seperti PHS tadi. Nah, data pasien, vital sign pasien yang dilengkapi dengan EWS scoring itu bisa terkirim ke rumah sakit, sehingga rumah sakit juga seperti saya bilang tadi bisa bersiap-siap atau antisipasi untuk pasien yang akan datang dibawa oleh ambulans. Dan tentunya juga kita sebagai petugas ambulans lebih confident, lebih percaya karena ada kita di backup oleh rumah sakit, di mana dokter jaga membantu kita melakukan tindakan di on-site sebelum pasien datang ke rumah sakit. Nah, berikut ini adalah saya akan memperkenalkan defibrillator kita, di mana tipe D3, D6. Kita punya fast defibrillation, kemudian effective resuscitation, kemudian standby anytime, kemudian flexible connection. Ini adalah fitur-fitur yang ada di defibrillator kami. Defibrillator Bernhardt D3, D6 ini adalah 4-in-1, terdiri dari pasien monitor, kemudian manual defibrillator, kemudian external pacing, dan juga AED. Kita lihat untuk patient monitoring ini sangat lengkap sekali, mulai dari standar parameter bahkan sampai 12 lead ECG, ITCE2, invasive blood pressure, kita bisa periksa menggunakan defibrillator kita. Kemudian dari manual defibrillator, kita menggunakan standarnya mulai dari 200 joule, tapi kita bisa juga sampai 360 joule secara bipacing. Kemudian auto recording, kemudian ada synchronized cardioversion also. Kemudian AED, kita tahu AED adalah automatic analysis, kemudian dia memberikan advice shock atau tidak, kemudian juga akan ada dipandu oleh suara dan teks juga dan juga suara ketika berapa CPR, ada panduannya. Dan terakhir ada juga external pacing, di mana sesuai dengan bisa ada dua pilihan, bisa dengan demand mode ataupun fixed mode, secara kita sesuaikan dengan pengguna kita. Nah, yang saya soroti adalah fast defibrillation speed. Defibrillator kita mulai dari power on, kemudian charging, sampai EKG recovery itu hanya 7,5 detik. 2 detik untuk power on, kemudian kita charging sampai 200 joule, 3 detik kita berikan shock kepada pasien, dan EKG recovery muncul di layar kita itu 2,5 detik. Jadi totalnya 7,5 detik. Ini paling cepat di kelasnya defibrillator. Rata-rata kompetitor kita ada di atas 10 sampai 15. Kemudian ada kecepatan lain yang memudahkan pekerjaan kita adalah easy of use dari workflow. Kita lihat nomor 1, nomor defibrillator, kemudian langsung energy selection, kemudian charge, shock. Kemudian, nah hal ini kalau kita menggunakan cukup manpower di rumah sakit. Tapi kalau kita di lapangan, mungkin kita hanya merespon pasien hanya berdua, bahkan satu membawa ambulans, satu lagi di belakang membawa pasien memerlukan shock. Nah, kita punya pedals kita itu bisa dioperasikan dengan sendiri oleh satu operator. Di sana ada pilihan untuk memilih joule, kemudian ada charge, kemudian shock dalam satu pedal. Juga ada kemudahan untuk mengatur mode dari dewasa menjadi pediatrik. Berikutnya adalah untuk effective resuscitation. Kita menggunakan teknologi BTE teknologi, adalah biphasic truncated exponential technology, di mana kita menggunakan sebagai untuk adult batas dasar joule kita ada 200 joule, kemudian kita bisa naikkan sampai 360 joule. Untuk bayi kita menggunakan 2 sampai 4 joule per kilogram berat badan. Nah, 300 joule atau 360 joule ini di mana digunakan pada pasien yang memerlukan high energy shock, seperti pasien-pasien dengan high impedance, mungkin pasiennya obesitas, kemudian atau terlalu banyak rambut di dadanya. Kemudian pada pasien-pasien yang mengalami keterlambatan shock, diberikan shock. Kemudian mungkin ada kita memasang elektroda tidak harus pada tempatnya karena mengalami masalah di dadanya. Kemudian pasien-pasien yang mengalami overdosis atau mengalami pengobatan yang banyak. Dan hal ini juga sudah direkomendasikan oleh beberapa organisasi, American Heart Association, kemudian ada ILCOR, kemudian ada ENSOR, kemudian dan lain-lain. Berikutnya adalah untuk effective resuscitation kami mempunyai CPR feedback. Jadi ini adalah CPR sensor di mana kita lihat di sini compression depth. Kita lihat kalau di orange artinya bahwa compression kita masih belum cukup. Kemudian yang green ini adalah yang direkomendasikan atau sesuai dengan harapan kita, sesuai dengan standar daripada resusitasi kita. Kemudian untuk red mungkin terlalu dalam. Kita tahu kalau di awal mungkin kita masih semangat, masih compression rate, depth-nya masih oke. Tapi setelah 1 atau 2 cycle atau bahkan 5 cycle kita mulai kelelahan dan kita butuh agar kita tahu quality CPR kita masih bagus, ya kita memerlukan alat seperti ini sehingga kita bisa memberikan meminta teman kita untuk menggantikan kita pada saat resusitasi sehingga efektif di resusitasi tetap terjaga. Yang lainnya adalah baterai, kita bisa untuk 300 shock kita untuk pada 200 joule, kemudian juga untuk 200 shock pada 360 joule. Ini sudah cukup sekali kita di kasus di lapangan, dan juga kita reliable quality kita sudah ingress protection 44, artinya sudah tahan dengan solid object dan juga percikan air. Dan ini untuk di intrahospital kita alat kita di defibrillator ini bisa menggunakan central station yang biasa digunakan untuk pasien monitor. Jadi tidak usah 2 central monitor, dan ini bisa terkoneksi dengan wireless ataupun dengan kabel, dan datanya juga bisa kita sampaikan ke hospital information system atau emergency medical record system atau apapun itu the third party. Dan ini bisa melalui central station maupun melalui secara langsung menggunakan HL7 yang bisa disampaikan ke third party itu. Jadi sangat fleksibel sekali dan sangat efisien sekali dari sisi investment. Dan sebagai kesimpulan bahwa Banner Heart D6 D3 kita ini adalah mempunyai fitur fast defibrillation, sangat cepat sekali, kemudian sangat mudah digunakan, kemudian dari sisi effective resuscitation kita menggunakan 360 BT teknologi, kemudian ada CPR feedback, kemudian untuk standby anytime, didukung oleh baterai yang sudah cukup besar, kemudian sudah bisa dari segala situasi secara lingkungan kita bisa menggunakan D3 atau D6 ini. Kemudian dari sisi flexibility di rumah sakit kita bisa menggunakan digabungkan dengan pasien monitor untuk central monitornya, dan juga bisa kita sambungkan ke PHS system. Dan untuk informasi produk lebih lanjut silakan menghubungi saya Wansu dengan ini di layar Bapak dan Ibu sekalian, silakan bisa difoto nanti untuk produk-produk yang lainnya ataupun produk ini dapat menghubungi saya. Terima kasih atas kesempatannya. Sekali lagi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Mr. Wansu, for the presentation. To all participants who require more detailed information about the product, Mr. Wansu will be pleased to keep in touch and answer your questions regarding the product information. Right, Mr. Wansu?
Yes, my pleasure to answer your question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wansu. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished participants and speakers, in the next 20 minutes, I would like to allow you all to have a break time. Please use your time efficiently and return to your device to continue the next session of webinar on time. Use your break time to enjoy the break, to take your time to have lunch and pray. And we would like to begin the next session at 20 past 12 p.m. I repeat, we would like to begin the next session with Nurse Arcel to panel session, the second panel session at 20 past 12 p.m. So enjoy your break time. Thank you.
pelayanan yang terbaik, kita bisa. Walaupun sejawat kita sudah ada yang berguguran, tetap semangat memberikan pelayanan yang terbaik. HIPGABI selalu di hati. HIPGABI satu berkualitas sejahtera. Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera untuk sejawat HIPGABI se-Indonesia. Dalam rangkaian memperingati Hari Kesehatan Sedunia, perawat memegang peranan terpenting dalam penanganan wabah COVID-19. HIPGABI garda terdepan tameng terakhir dalam memutus rantai penularan COVID-19. Berikan pelayanan yang terbaik, kita bisa. Walaupun sejawat kita sudah ada yang berguguran, tetap semangat memberikan pelayanan yang terbaik. HIPGABI selalu di hati. HIPGABI satu berkualitas sejahtera. Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera untuk sejawat HIPGABI se-Indonesia. Dalam rangkaian memperingati Hari Kesehatan Sedunia, perawat memegang peranan terpenting dalam penanganan wabah COVID-19. HIPGABI garda terdepan, tameng terakhir dalam memutus rantai penularan COVID-19. Berikan pelayanan yang terbaik, kita bisa. Walaupun sejawat kita sudah ada yang berguguran, tetap semangat memberikan pelayanan yang terbaik. HIPGABI selalu di hati. HIPGABI bersatu, berkualitas, sejahtera.
Himpunan perawat gawat darurat dan bencana Indonesia melangkah pasti untuk melayani, maju pantang menyerah, maksimalkan pengetahuanmu, hebatkan semua keterampilanmu, tunjukkanlah dari sikapmu demi panggilan hidup berdiri. Jadi bersatu mengemban tugas suci untuk kesejahteraan kita. Jadi bersama membangun citra bangsa untuk Indonesia. Ayo bangun semangatmu, kita selalu di hatimu. Ayo bangun semangatmu, kita tetap jaya. Himpunan perawat gawat darurat dan bencana Indonesia melangkah pasti untuk melayani, maju pantang menyerah, maksimalkan pengetahuanmu, hebatkan semua keterampilanmu, tunjukkanlah dari sikapmu demi panggilan hidup berdiri. Jadi bersatu untuk mengemban tugas suci untuk kesejahteraan kita. HIPGABI bersama membangun citra bangsa untuk Indonesia. Ayo kobarkan semangatmu, HIPGABI selalu di hatimu. Ayo kobarkan semangatmu, HIPGABI tetap jaya. Ayo kobarkan semangatmu, HIPGABI selalu di hatimu. Ayo kobarkan semangatmu, jaya. HIPGABI tetap jaya.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, selamat siang. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the webinar. I wish you have enjoyed the break and taken your time to have lunch and pray. To save time, we would like to continue the second session of the webinar. Please join me to welcome our moderator again, Nurse Arsal. In the second session of the webinar, we have invited another international speaker too, who will share about her experience and knowledge in her home country, and together we also would like to hear the sharing experience about management of emergency department in the National Referral Hospital in Indonesia, Cipto Mangunkusumo Hospital. And furthermore, to Nurse Arsal, please take your time to lead the second panel session. Please, Nurse Arsal.
Thank you, Nurse Mito. I hope you all have a good break. So without further ado, shall we continue to the second panel sessions then? Allow me to introduce our third speaker, Ms. Noriko Ikeda, RN-PHN. Mr. Lenta, could you please spotlight Ms. Noriko Ikeda video, please? So again,
already?
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 Okay.
Yes.
I want to see Ms. Noriko Ikeda. Okay, right. Right, so allow me to introduce our third speaker then. Our next speaker is a medical relief expert, Ms. Noriko Ikeda, RN-PHN. Ms. Noriko Ikeda is a Director of International Relief Division, International Medical Relief Department, Japanese Red Cross Osaka Hospital. Domo arigato gozaimasu, Ms. Noriko. I hope I pronounce it right.
Yes, right.
Okay. Miss Noriko Ikeda, thank you very much for joining us all the way from Osaka. After completing her nursing training in 1987 at Japanese Red Cross Nursing School of Osaka, Miss Noriko Ikeda worked at GRC Osaka Hospital and GRC Nursing School of Osaka, where she provided clinical care, managed a ward, and supervised nursing students. In parallel, she joined the international medical missions as Red Cross movement since 1995, when the Great Hansin Awaji earthquake happened. She has been actively involved in domestic disaster preparedness and disaster response. She has provided clinical nursing care to people suffer from conflict and disaster in various countries, such as Afghanistan, Pakistan, Philippines, Haiti, South Sudan, and Kenya. Wow, amazing. She also participates in a disaster recovery support project, assessing, planning, implementing, and evaluating the project, such as community-based promotions for local people. She completed her Master of Health Science at University of Tokyo in 2006, and she joins the COVID-19 Countermeasures Committee and supervised the OPD specialist for COVID-19 cases since COVID-19 response started in GRC Osaka Hospital. Please welcome Ms. Noriko Ikeda. Ms. Noriko Ikeda, 25 minutes for your presentation, please.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm going to share my presentation. So everybody can see my presentation?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm very glad to come to this seminar because also I've been here and work as a member of the disaster response team after the Sulawesi earthquake. So thank you very much, Iwan, and thank you for inviting me to this seminar. So I'm working in GRC Osaka Hospital, but at the moment I'm not working in ER. I'm working as in OPD, especially for COVID-19 in my hospital. And today I'm going to speak about the situation in Japan and first response in Japan. This is about the COVID-19 response in cruise ship. So this is a bit unique. So I would like to introduce a little bit. And so the next COVID-19 response in Japanese Red Cross Osaka Hospital. And the last is lesson learned. In Japan, compared to Australia and Taiwan, the number of the COVID cases is quite many, I can say. And in total, almost this number is quite high, and we have already a first wave, second wave, and third wave is coming. And first patient is at the beginning of January. And this is the type of institution for PCR test. The reason why I would like to show this slide to you, this is quite different from other countries. Because since the beginning, PCR test has been done in Japan, the number is quite small to compare to other countries. In total, at the moment, about 3 million PCR tests. So it is quite small. At the beginning, the government decided quite strict criteria for PCR. For example, criteria is body temperature is 37.5 for more than 4 days. And also the symptoms of the COVID-19, such as dyspnea, extreme fatigue. So these symptoms is essential. And after that, we need to consult to the health center if we can send a PCR test to there. So even the patients or medical institute like my hospital would like to have a PCR test. If the out of criteria, we cannot have the PCR test. That's why, especially at the beginning, the PCR test is quite small number. And the institutes which conduct a PCR test is only local health research institution or health center only. And then slowly private laboratory company and also medical institute like our hospital start to equip the machine to do the PCR test. So the number of PCR is now increasing. But still, not everybody like Korea or Taiwan, we cannot do that. But at least we can do the PCR test if the doctors suspect or suspect the COVID-19. We can do the PCR test. So it is at least the good things. And about the COVID-19 in our hospital. So I would like to introduce my hospital. The bed capacity is 964 beds. And general hospital, it is quite big hospital, but we don't have any infectious disease specialty. And our hospital is designated as a core disaster hospital. And having a Japan Medical Service accreditation for international patient certification, because it means we also receive quite a lot of foreigners, especially the tourists. So the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, we received quite a lot of tourists from other countries to ER. And also we have the International Medical Relief Department. This is quite unique. Not so many hospitals has this department. And first cluster in Japan is happened actually in March. But in this graph, actually it is not shown. It's happened in the Diamond Cruise, the Diamond Princess Cruise. This is the first cluster, but statistically, this number is excluded in that graph. And from January to March, the COVID-19 cluster occurred in the cruise ship. So almost 900 positive cases and 8 deaths. It's quite big. And the JRC Osaka Hospital, our hospital, sent one medical team from February 16 to 18. And the member is that we select the person who have experienced international missions, because crews and also passengers are quite international. So that we decided to send the who can speak English. This is a map of the cruise. And here is the medical center, because this big cruise normally has a medical center. So they worked here. But at the same time, this is the male staff. They slept in a dining room. And the female staff slept in the medical center. And the next day, the male staff, the members moved to the medical center. So the staff slept inside the medical center. So it is very difficult in a ship, because this is not the hospital. It's not very easy to make the safe zone and the red zone. So this is the medical center in the cruise ship. So very, very well equipped. And this is the inside, and they try to make a zone. And there are many patients, and as you know, the condition is dramatically getting worse sometimes. So we also need to refer the patient from the cruise to the hospital. And this is the picture they're working. And at the same time, this is very, very gorgeous, the cruise ship. So the environment is very shiny, but the stuff is very serious. So this is also very decorated inside, so it means very difficult to clean. The blue guy, he is a member of the medical staff of cruise ship. So our team is the first team who can speak English. So the medical staff is, of course, they need to stay in the cruise all the time. They are not allowed to go out, and they cannot speak to the patient directly. They cannot share their experience to other medical staff. So they supported to the medical team not only the work, also they could support their mental stress, because when they meet the people who can speak English, they seem so relaxed and to talk and talk and talk. So this is very important to talk and to share their experience in the same language. So next, I'm going to talk about the response in JRCS and Osaka Hospital. So this is the graph of the chronology. This number is the COVID cases in Osaka, not in Japan, but the quite similar pattern, the same pattern of Japanese one. And this the green one is the COVID-19 related patient, and this the orange one is what Osaka Prefecture did for COVID-19, and blue one is what activity our hospital did. So at the beginning of the January, in ER, or actually not in ER, in isolation room, we have specially room for such a third case, and we started to examine the suspected case in the isolation room. And from here until here, we opened the specific OPD, dedicated OPD for COVID-19 in the beginning of April. From here to here, and only ER has to take care of the patient. I mean the COVID-19 suspected cases. And in the hospital, we established COVID-19 countermeasure committee the end of the March, and opened the OPD. And we opened established the COVID-19 countermeasure office. And this is the OPD. So we set up the dedicated OPD in front of the hospital. This is main entrance. And this is waiting tent. And this is consultation tent. And this is an X-ray and the sample collecting tent. And as I mentioned before, our hospital has International Medical Relief Department, and we have Domestic Emergency Response Unit, hospital unit. So these equipment already we pre-possess before the COVID-19. That's why when we decided to open the dedicated OPD, so as soon as we decided, we start to OPD because of the preposition of these kind of equipment. So this is the tent, and this is X-ray. So here we can see the patient, and also the waiting area is not only the patient. This is also for the family as well, because in the family is quite often the person who close to contact with the patient. This is ER. And this is we block the corridor because we try to avoid the patient accidentally go into the ER without any triage. So this is like a road, but this is also we try to make a zone in the hospital. This is the process of the triage. And we have, of course, walk-in case and also ambulance case. And we check the vital signs and also check the other condition, and also ask the specific, the close contact and symptoms and travel histories, and also the usage of the antipyretic within 24 hours. And plus medical histories. This is very important to ask medical histories to the patient, because this green is the nurses responsible to triage and to put the patient in normal waiting room or isolated waiting room, and the doctor's consultation sometimes by phone, and to do the test, blood test and chest X-ray or CT. And if they suspect the COVID-19, we do the PCR, and now we add the influenza test. And when the X-ray shows or CT shows pneumonia at mycoplasma and the streptococcus and the Legionella test, we add. And if nothing, they can go home. And if they need the admission, we add COVID-19 antigen test and admission to the ward. The reason why we do the COVID-19 antigen test, even we already done PCR, because the antigen test is very quick. So the within 20-30 minutes, we know if patient is positive. So we use to find the positive cases, because in the ward, we have suspected cases and also positive cases. We have to take care of the both patients. So we would like to know sooner if the patient is COVID-19 positive. And this is the ambulance cases. So the later is same, but before we receive the patient, we try to get the information as much as possible from ambulance crew. And we prepare the room. And before the patient entered the room, of course, the ambulance crew already checked the body temperature, but again, we check the body temperature before entering the hospital. And now we don't use the temperature check the machine to check here. We use auxiliary, because now in Japan is the winter, so the data is not correct. So now we have to wait a little bit more. And if we suspect the COVID-19 positive, so that we put the patient in the negative pressure room. And if it's not, so we put the patient in a normal examination room. So this is a negative pressure room, and we don't have not so many negative pressure room. So we use the tent, and then we can put the negative pressure here. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the reward and the compensation system. This is by government. And of course, in the hospital, we receive the donation or some reward from the community or company. And also they try to say thank you and thank you face to face. But also the money is also very important. And the government decide the staff who work in the hospital, but not only the hospital, medical institute, including clinic, and even they are not say the COVID-19 cases, they decided to provide the 2,000 USD per person. It depends on the medical institute. And also the Osaka prefecture decided to pay 3,000 yen, so it means 30 USD person per day. But this is only for the person directly contact with COVID-19 patient. Of course, this is very important to receive extra money from the government, but this is also the brew of everything, because the medical staff start to complain or causes a problem, because okay, this is only the COVID-19 cases, but also how about suspected cases? We are also stressed, and we are also they need a lot of care. So these kind of thing is very important, but at the same time, this is very problematic, I think. And nursing staffing consideration. And in our ER, we have also bed in ER, 20 inpatient bed in ER. And as already I mentioned, we do not have so many examination room. Of course, we have examination room, but the ER is not only the the COVID patient. We also received a lot of patients with other diseases. So we need these kind of things. And we can't use the suspected case because this is not negative pressure. So we need to wait if the suspected cases go into the examination room. And at the same time, the workload is quite heavy. And we need more staff. So the hospital decided to close the inpatient bed in ER. So we create the ER nurse more to take care of the COVID-19 patient, and also reduce the workload. But we can't take the nurses from other world, because we need a specialized the knowledge and the skills for ER. So that's why we decided like this. This is the picture, and this is the mask, so that we don't have enough PPE. So it increases the staff's anxiety, and they are really worried about. But fortunately, we received the PPE donation, also that we have a stock of the domestic and international disaster response. And this is also, we try to do it, not we, ICT, infectious, the control team disagreed to put this, and also there is no ventilation, so we remove. But I remember doctors and nurses, when they put this plastic curtain, they feel so relaxed. Of course, it's wrong, but this is also very, you can see the importance of the PPE. And communication. We have less opportunity. We can't talk and we can't drink. We can't release our stress. This is very difficult. And in the hospital, systematically, we try to support emotional and psychological. But then we do the many things, and we ask the clinical psychologist and announce to all staff. And this is a checklist, self-checklist. And sorry, this is in Japanese. And this is also the distribute the brochure. But nobody wants to have a consultation with the clinical psychologist. This is, I do not know why. So we try to do this, but actually it doesn't work well. So the last one is lesson learned. And during this response, we had a lot of things. We did a lot of things, and we did a lot of mistakes. And COVID-19 Countermeasure Office and Committee, actually, this is too late to establish. But of course, and it is much better than nothing. And after that, our activity is more actively working. So this is very good things. So it means command and control is quite important. And create guidelines and manuals. We make a lot for the COVID-19. It means we can keep the nurses and the staff and families are safety, because we can keep the standard. And the chronology, we record the single event, even very, very small things. We try to record and make a detailed chronology. So it helps to assess what kind of things is and what kind of things is effective. So this kind of thing is very important. And also the experience from domestic and international disaster response. So these kind of things is how these kind of things is important. We know, and we can contribute to these kind of things. And communication. This is important and difficult. And the final one is still we have a problem. Infectious disease and sectionalism in the hospital. This is not very easy. Infectious disease, it means the staff and the patient should be in a limited area or limited number. So it means sometimes it promotes sectionalism. It is very difficult to break. And it makes also discrimination and stigma. It is a shame, but even in our hospital, sometimes the other staff is said to the staff who are working in the COVID-19 ward, the ward is quite severe one. So these kind of things we have to overcome, but there are quite a lot of lessons learned. I hope and it helps you. Thank you very much for listening. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Noriko Ikeda, for your great presentations. I really enjoy your explanations with the protocol, practical examples, and implications. Hopefully, hospital managers and policymakers who attend this seminar take into considerations reward and compensation system used in Japan, including its influencing factors, of course, but hopefully. Right, so may I remind participants can start to post questions on Zoom message privately to the moderator or publicly if you prefer to do so. And please do not forget to always write down to which speaker you want to address your questions. We will address the questions in our questions and answer sessions. So shall we move on to our last but not least speaker, please? Miss Siti Nurlela. Mr. Lenta, could you again spotlight Miss Siti Nurlela? We would really like.
Already.
Okay. Where is she? I cannot see her.
Speaker view.
Right.
Okay. Speaker view.
Thank you, Miss Arcelia.
Okay, wait a minute, Miss Lela. I will introduce you. Right. Okay. Our last but not least speaker is one of my colleague, Miss Siti Nurlela, MKEP SP KMB. Miss Siti Nurlela is the nurse manager of emergency department at Cipto Mangunkusumo Hospital, RSCM. RSCM is one of national referral hospitals in Indonesia. She has extensive clinical experiences as a nurse. She is a clinical instructor for master and specialist nursing program. She also contributes to the competency enhancement of nurses and quality improvement of nursing services. She is currently taking her PhD at the University of Indonesia. And since March 2020, she has been appointed as the nurse manager who is responsible for managing COVID-19 in emergency department RSCM and RSCM Kiara or Kiara Ultimate. Please welcome Miss Siti Nurlela. Miss Siti Nurlela, 20 minutes for your presentation, please.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Arcelia, for giving time for me to present about COVID-19 pandemic in my hospital. I would like to thank the President of the Indonesian Emergency and Disaster Nurses Association, Mr. Wallace, specialist in medical surgical nursing, Chairman of the committee, Mr. Bahrain, a specialist in medical surgical nursing. Please allow me speak in front of seniors, emergency nursing expert, and administrator, and HIPGABI members, especially for my mentor, who we know as our beloved emergency mother is in Indonesia, Mrs. Amelia, Magister of Nursing. And also, I would like to thank in this international seminar to all these speakers, Miss Noriko Ikeda from Japan. Nice to meet you. And all my participants, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang, salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Semoga kita selalu diberikan kesehatan dan selalu dalam lindungan Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Please excuse, I want to share a screen. Okay, I currently still provide services and manage COVID and non-COVID workforce in the emergency department, and inshallah I will share experience related to how to manage triage, manage energy, such as giving rewards and compensation, and how we can provide motivational support, both emotional and psychosocial for the professionals. We build the resilience of the emergency department nurse during COVID-19 pandemic, and how we conduct the triage process to minimize exposure toward healthcare professional, manage limited personnel, create a conducive working environment with emotional and psychosocial support, and how we do manage a compensation and reward system nurse. Okay, everyone. Before I'm to present about COVID-19 in pandemic my hospital, I will inform you about the current data from World Health Organization. The data was collected 25 November 2020. And globally, there have been 59,481,330 people confirmed case of COVID-19, including 1,404,542 dead case. And in Indonesia, in my country, the number of people who were exposed on same date was 511,1836 confirmed case and 16,225 people dead case. And my hospital, RHCM, from November, in this picture, from February to November, or COVID-19 case, the data showed with 8 until 10 patients per day. And for non-COVID-19, 80 until 90 patients per day. The number of non-COVID visit crisis during the pandemic, previously the number of visit by emergency patient per day was up to 100 people. From the data, the nurse should again relations to taking care of the patient, and also the triage management in emergency department important to be focused, minimize overcrowding in emergency. To answer that question, we have understand about triage first. Triage is a system used to determine the priority scale for patient care and transportation in order to save as many patients as possible. We know that triage is very important and an important component in the emergency room. Because you have really to be able to focus and on sorting out which priority are emergency case and which are not. The point is the triage nurse must be able to set priority and save as many lives as possible with fast and precise response. That's what's called triage, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. They must be able to prevent a contamination and cross-exposure. Fast response time, triage is an important component emergency department to prevent overcrowding. And in the COVID-19 situation, so that hospital joining in needed for COVID-19 and non-COVID-19 services. In RSM hospital, we open the expansion of the emergency department areas because there were quite a lot of cases in Augustus. And next, in RRCM, we assign to triage nurse with level 3 emergency clinical competencies and emergency department competencies using personal protective equipment PPE level 2. Nurse workflow and triage coordination, which pays for binary isolation at RHM. In this picture, you can see the nurse send triage after patient going intervention from triage. So the nurse bring the patient into emergency room binary isolation, and this one view isolation binary. The strategies what carried out by RSM to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic. Look at the picture, picture 1. In the middle, the nurse, the triage, then is a patient probable and confirmed with COVID-19. The nurse bring to ER ultimate. And picture 2, for the above picture, from room for patient, do the isolation binary in ER, triage to isolation. And one last picture 3, for the patient under supervision or ODP, placed in 10, triage to 10. But now, since April, Kiara Ultimate already open. We don't use emergency room ultimate. The patient bring to the Kiara Ultimate from triage or isolation room. You can see the picture. No, the isolation room sometimes full, so we open other room like extension room. We activate from Augustus to October because COVID-19 cases are rising. And you can see the flow and screening in triage. Already explained after the triage, the patient come either through referral or not, and then are admitted by the triage nurse, and a brief examination is carried out while carrying out an oxygen or saturation check for the patient. And rule of triage nurse admit patient, perform a rapid assessment using the integrated triage form and COVID-19 screening, measure oxygen saturation and patient temperature measurement using a thermogun. Follow the standard of patient safety. If the patient is suspect, probable, or confirmed COVID-19, then the patient is directed to an isolation room. Either the patient is a green, yellow, or red categories. Because red categories in isolation room, there is also a standby ventilator, and then coordination with emergency medical officer and emergency medical manager to next management. Now this picture, high workload should take into consideration during the pandemic situation. Of course, we also have to think about the safety of the medical personnel in the case of overcrowding due to the accumulation of patients. You can see the nurse is very busy. And how to manage limited personnel in emergency room. The working pattern of nurse comment by strengthening the role of joint team leaders. In this picture, we can see the division of duties of nurses according to zoning. We use the command work pattern, which mean that the arrangement and placement of personnel is controlled by one door of the mobilization of the entire emergency room staff. And next, this picture, redesigning of zone and managing nursing workforce, COVID and then non-COVID. The emergency department RHM includes the emergency room on the one floor, starting from the triage, the green zone, a yellow zone, red, and isolation zone. But there are other floors, such as the intensive care unit, second floor, obstetric gynecology and children 3-4, and operating room at 4th floor, that our energy can be optimized when we are facing a disaster like this COVID-19. Redesigning of staffing, the working pattern of command for service and workforce flexibility, strengthening primary nurse or zone team leader, 3 shift working pattern with the shift schedule, 5 until 6 working days, and 2 days off. 1 month assigned in COVID-19 services with a rest period of 1 week in the isolation zone. A napping time arrangement, vacation arrangement, shift schedule is flexible, and nursing DKO or under operational control arrangement through internal emergency department mobilization. Optimizing electronic health record for nursing care plan documentation. This modification of nurse workforce mobilization to overcome high workload during the pandemic, both for COVID-19 and non-COVID-19, we differentiate between the working areas for the nurse. The current COVID-19 emergency room zone is a binary isolation room which consists of 7 oxygen outlets, 7 brancards with 1 ventilator, with nurse 1 per 3 until 4. In emergency room zona extensi, Agustus until October, 10 bed with 2 until 3 nurse. 3 shift working pattern. In the beginning of pandemic situation, the number was different at night, a range of napping time. And recent condition, bigger ratio, some staff with positive COVID-19, minimal staff, and the COVID-19 rate is increasing again. So we solution redesigning by optimizing of BKO personnel and activating floating nurse. And then, I'm sorry. And then, whereas for non-COVID patient, we defined it nurse according to the number of patients at the time. The ideal in the yellow zone is 1 to 6, but in part, at this time, it could be 1 in 10 or even more. Similarly, in the red and green zone, because the condition of non-COVID patient has started to improve. And we solution modifying the documentation using electronic health record and activating of emergency room overcrowded and redesigning by optimizing of BKO personnel and activating floating nurse. Furthermore, that the award and compensation given to us during the pandemic are routine rapid and swab test for the emergency department nurse, commitment of hospital management to fulfill PPA, provide a supplement and balanced nutrition for nurses, COVID-19 incentive reward for red zone nurse, for full COVID incentive, give to those who deal with a COVID-19 patient, calculate from the number of working days. For other areas in the ER, the incentive is adjust to the number of time found in contact with suspect, probable, and confirmed patient, while in the zone, and then salary, remuneration, and meal allowance. RHCM provide accommodation and transportation, provide for nurses who work in the COVID-19 red zone. And the last one is award from the base nurse alhamdulillah, one of the emergency department nurse was awarded as the best nurse at the 2020 RSMO. And emotional and psychological support nursing staff with direct approach and interaction, coordinate and communicate through daily briefing, virtual emergency nursing coordination meeting, which include the manager, supervisor, head nurse, IPCN, team leader, and nursing associate. And provide reinforcement for emergency department nurses whose swab results are positive, give motivation during pre and post conference, provide counseling for nurses who need further intervention, and coordinating with the RSM mental health team. And this picture is for example routine visit routine briefing on board COVID-19 and non-COVID-19 services, pray before starting working, encourage one another, evaluate previous activities and prepare for today activities. And because I manage 2 units of the emergency department and Kiara Ultimate that at the time, so for a briefing starting at 7 in Kiara Ultimate, then at in emergency department. And then this picture example of support of for staff in both COVID-19 and non-COVID-19 services, give them the freedom of positive expression so that they stay happy, remind them to keep praying, and visit from the chairman from Indonesia National Nurse Association for DKI Jakarta, Mr. Jaja, in emergency department. And example in picture is provide reinforcement for emergency department for nurse that had positive swab result and one self-isolating. Another strategies include birthday celebration, debrief, case discussion, and sharing or brainstorming via Zoom to encourage each other. I also happen to be positive for COVID-19 and we encourage each other. And conclusion, emergency department is the front gate of hospital services. It acts as a filter and safety net during the pandemic. Therefore, emergency department nurse as the largest healthcare workforce in the emergency department is the backbone of the service, maintain their competency and well-being to enable them giving a high quality services in the emergency department is very crucial. To all my emergency nurse below, be front of our role and keep the spirit up. You'll never walk alone. We are this together. And for us to remember together that bring rich is not about how much you have, but how much you give. Okay, I'm sorry if my speaking is not exactly. Thank you for listening. And if there is anything you want to ask, you can contact my email. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Miss Siti Nurlela, for such a detailed presentations. So for our questions and answer sessions, again, I will read the questions posted on the private chat first, and then later on, hopefully, we'll still have time to invite participants who wish to ask directly to our speaker. So the questions that has posted to my private message is for Miss Noriko Ikeda.
Yes.
So the questions coming from Nida Hassana. She's working as infection control and nurse in Primer Bintari Hospital, Indonesia. So she would like to know, is there any regular RT-PCR screening periodically for nurses in Japan? And if so, how often?
Actually, we don't do any routine PCR screening test for the nurses and the doctors. But if because the all staff has to check their body temperature every day, and even there is no the fever, if the coughing or other symptom like cold, they have to report to the manager. And the infection control team and also respiratory medicine doctors has to consult and what they have to do. And if suspected, they can have the PCR test. And of course, before that, a blood test and a chest test sometimes if they need. But there is no routine PCR test.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Noriko Ikeda. So we have another questions again from Nida Hassana and two other questions, but similar questions. So I merged it into one. So is there any rolling system for nurses or medical COVID team in Japan? For instance, maybe in a week, how Japan manage or your institution manage rolling system of nurses in a week, the shift schedule perhaps?
A shift schedule, actually there is no change before COVID-19 and after COVID-19, but we could increase the staff.
Okay.
And there is no compensation. For example, after the taking care of the COVID-19 patient, there is no or holidays we don't have. But the roster is the same.
I see. Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Noriko. Okay. For Miss Siti Nurlela, so I've got these questions here. Considering overcrowding, is RSCM's do personnel mobilizations from other wards or recruit volunteer or recruit new nurses or something? Miss Siti Nurlela?
Okay, can use the Indonesia language.
Yeah, sure.
Miss Esther dia. Okay, jika terjadi kondisi overcrowding di IGD, kami melakukan yang pertama adalah mobilisasi internal di IGD sendiri, yaitu kita melakukan mobilisasi antar lantai. Kita turunkan atau kita lakukan perbantuan dari lantai-lantai yang memang kondisinya saat itu pasiennya tidak terlalu banyak. Contohnya adalah tadi saya jelaskan di awal, di IGD itu kita terdiri dari 5 lantai dan 4 lantai adalah area pelayanan. Di IGD sendiri ada ICU lantai 2, kemudian ada IGD anak, kebidanan, dan lantai 4 kamar operasi. Jadi tatkala terjadi overcrowding, yang pertama adalah yang dilakukan jika kita punya SPU-nya, yaitu jika IGD penuh sesak, pasien melebihi 51 pasien, kemudian berangkar semua dalam posisi terisi atau terpakai, kemudian kita lakukan aktivasi IGD penuh sesak. Jadi ada SPU-nya. Nah, kemudian di internal kita lakukan mobilisasi tenaga dari lantai lain itu membantu ke lantai 1. Jadi kalau sore malam itu dikoordinasikan oleh manajer on duty IGD. Kalau pagi hari kita koordinasi internal antara head nurse per lantai. Kemudian dimonitor dan disupervisi oleh manajer keperawatan dan supervisor. Tetapi kalau memang kondisinya di dalam IGD sendiri sudah tidak bisa dilakukan mobilisasi, misalnya staf ICU penuh, OKA juga ada kegiatan, kemudian lantai 2 IGD juga penuh, lantai 3 IGD anak juga penuh, maka kita koordinasikan ke eksternal IGD, yaitu ke bidang perawatan untuk diizinkan untuk melakukan floating nurse, aktivasi floating nurse, yaitu bantuan tenaga dari eksternal IGD. Kami lakukan koordinasi melalui grup PJ keperawatan, kemudian aktivasi IGD punah sesak kita kirimkan ke grup PJ keperawatan, nanti para manajer atau PJ keperawatan unit akan memberikan bantuan tenaga ke kita. Kalau memang itu tidak terjadi juga dan semua unit itu penuh, baru tadi terakhir adalah floating nurse untuk kondisi overcrowding. Nah, itu Bu Arsel untuk yang overcrowding.
Okay, siap. Right, so I'll try to translate it into English. So the answer for the questions about mobilizations of personnel within the ED. So the first options is when there is an overcrowding within the ED. So the internal personnel within the ED itself will be mobilized, because in between ED there is a five floors. So the mobilization is between in internal ED. But if it couldn't disentangle overcrowding within the ED, then the coordinations in between manager of unit goes to external ED through hospital board of nursing, and the manager of unit within the hospital will give assigned personnel to the ED to help ED with the overcrowding. Right, okay, so I really want to invite any participants who wants to ask a questions directly to the speaker. I'm afraid we are running out of time, so if we could have one participants who wants to directly ask to the speaker, please click your raise your button on Zoom, and then I try to locate you. If one of the committee could help me to locate participants.
Okay, I will help.
Who wants to ask directly? Maybe participants, our colleague from non-Indonesian participants from Japan, Taiwan, Australia, or the United States, if wants to ask directly. I couldn't locate. Okay, if there is no, then I will go back to the chat, please.
Mr. Ronnie.
Okay.
Wait,
please, you could unmute your microphone, Mr. Ronnie.
Okay, thank you very much for the moderator, Nurse Australia. It's a nice webinar today. Yeah. Okay, I directly want to ask to Ms. Noriko Ikeda. Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa.
Okay, for this moment, maybe because the topic about the resilience, maybe could you share about the Japanese experience, how to avoid maybe the suicide case or the stress that will be maybe from nurse because of the COVID, because this is the long time disaster, right? So how the strategy of the Japanese institution to avoid especially for the stressful maybe stressful even for the nurses, and also maybe to the other speaker, Bu Siti Nurlela, maybe I can speak Indonesia. Selamat siang Bu, luar biasa. Mungkin yang perlu saya tanyakan adalah terkait dengan yang pengalaman Ibu sebagai koordinator dalam penanganan COVID-19 ini, karena ini berkaitan dengan resilient, ya, ketangguhan. apakah di dalam pelayanan tersebut tetap melibatkan juga seperti orang-orang psikologi? Seperti yang ketahui, kalau misalnya yang diterapkan di Rumah Sakit Darurat Wisma Atlet itu, kita tim juga melibatkan profesi lain seperti psikologi dalam hal untuk menguatkan ketangguhan baik kepada perawat maupun kepada pasien yang bisa saja dia punya risiko tinggi untuk mengalami stres secara psikologis. Mungkin itu yang bisa saya tanyakan. Terima kasih pada moderator dan panitia yang memberikan kesempatan. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Maybe Miss Noriko Ikeda, would you like to answer? Yes.
I think I don't have the good answer because I mentioned my hospital, the psychological support is not working very well, and the same way that I explained the clinical psychologist. This system is working very well in other hospitals, so I do not know why it's not working well. But one thing that already I mentioned, sectionalism in the hospital is really discourage the person who are working in ER or face to the COVID cases. So if we can work as a one team for whole hospital try to support even though they don't see the patient. So these kind of things is really release their stress because they also get the motivation again. But this is very difficult because at the moment there is seems like endless. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. Okay. Miss Siti Nurlela. So the questions is about as a coordinator in RSCM, how you involve psychology in your team to help nursing with the psychological issues. Yes, please, Miss Siti Nurlela, if you could answer your question. You still mute? Could you please unmute yourself? Yes.
Oke, terima kasih Bu Arselia. Terima kasih Pak Roni dari Rumah Sakit Marinir Cilandak nih, tentara ya Pak. Oke, mohon izin Pak, saya menyampaikan untuk penanganan COVID-19 di RCM, dalam penanganan ini kami dan perekrutan tenaga kami melibatkan tim psikologi. Ya, salah satunya adalah teman-teman yang akan ditempatkan atau tenaga yang akan ditempatkan di area atau zona merah COVID, kita lakukan briefing sebelum mereka terjun ke area COVID ya. Kemudian kita lakukan briefing bersama, kemudian kita tanyakan bagaimana dan kesiapannya seperti apa sehingga sebelum mereka terjun mereka sudah lebih siap. Itu yang pertama. Nah, sedangkan untuk teman-teman di IGD sendiri, ya kita membagi tim. Jadi kita tidak hanya satu orang atau dua orang yang kita tempatkan di sana. Contohnya adalah saya ambil di ruang isolasi IGD lantai 1. Jadi kita ganti per tiap bulan. Ya, per tiap bulan itu harapannya teman-teman bukan berarti harus semua terpapar, tidak. Tapi teman-teman merasakan apa yang dirasakan oleh teman yang lain. Jadi rasa empati itu akan ada. Kemudian kita lakukan di awal pandemi, kami melibatkan dokter spesialis penyakit dalam. Kemudian saya minta beliau untuk memberikan informasi apa itu sebenarnya COVID-19 ke teman-teman di lantai 1, 2, 3, 4. Kemudian gitu juga dilakukan di RSCM Kiara, diinformasikan bagaimana apa itu COVID-19, bagaimana cara penularannya, dan bagaimana kita mengantisipasi. Jadi di awal sebelum kita memang terjun di lapangan, itu sudah diberikan bekal. Kemudian kami juga melibatkan teman-teman S2 spesialis keperawatan jiwa. Kami mintakan mereka untuk membuat link, teman-teman bisa mengisi, nanti dilihat skornya, kapan mereka masuk di grade berapa sehingga dibutuhkan konseling lebih lanjut. Jadi seperti itu. Jadi memang sangat penting karena ini berdampak terhadap satu kenyamanan teman-teman, yang kedua adalah pastinya psikologis teman-teman akan terganggu kalau misalnya yang bersangkutan sendiri tidak paham, pastinya akan berdampak terhadap keluarga di rumah. Saya rasa itu Pak, terima kasih.
Right, okay, so the answers for would RSCM involve psychology? So RSCM, the answer from Miss Siti Nurlaila is RSCM involve not only psychologists but also mental health nursing specialists to do the assessment and then to do the interventions such as counseling and briefing, and also to reduce anxiety of the emergency nurses. Ms. Siti Nurlaila involved internists to provide informations around COVID-19 to just reduce anxiety of emergency nurses. So hope that answer your questions, Mr. Ronnie. Right, okay. I'm afraid we are running out of time. If I could we just have one more questions for Mr. Muhammad Fatoni. Would you like to ask directly to the speaker? So if you could unmute your mic, we could only have one more question, I'm sorry. So Mr. Muhammad Fatoni?
Okay.
Yes.
Bu Arcel, thank you very much, Bu Arcel as moderator. I would like to ask from Japan, Prof. Noriko Ikeda, about how to handle multiple disaster, especially disaster in Japan, because in Japan I have earthquake also, also maybe have a typhoon in pandemic COVID-19, because we know that the health protocol must be to rule as standard for the shelter and in the primary healthcare or maybe in the clinic. How about that in Japan? Because maybe we have some more disaster like in Japan, also in Indonesia. And for Ms. Nurlaila, about the nurses in Indonesia have died maybe around 100, more than, or maybe around 100. The nurses die especially in East Java. How the solution? Because in Indonesia until now, the vaccine not yet to be done like this. Maybe around December or 2020, the vaccine can be given to the health provider. Thank you very much. Konnichiwa, arigatou gozaimashita.
Arigatou gozaimasu. I think I'm not very sure, and my answer is correct to your question. Of course, as you know, as you mentioned, in Japan we have quite a lot of disaster, and our hospital is the one of the core disaster hospital. So the government decided to put the certain number in a certain area to put the core disaster hospitals. But actually, this hospital is not working for the community. This is only the hospital to receive the affected people or something like this. And it is very rare like in my hospital to work for these kind of things by International Medical Relief Department. So the most of the cases, the centered infectious disease specialist or infectious disease control team is normally the control or try to do to make a plan or something like this. In public, actually, of course, in health center and the government try to promote how to prevent the COVID-19. But I think this is working very well because even before the Japanese and always wear the mask, as you know. So actually now the Japanese government and the Japanese people and try to no, not try, and now they think this kind of thing is disaster, but at the beginning they don't feel this is a disaster. So the after this, because I'm already in our hospital already to make a BCP, business continuous plan, for like this infectious disease. So this is I think other hospitals and the government, and they start to make a BCP business continuous plan, or to act what kind of things what we can do for this kind of outbreak, because in the last time and the SARS, we don't have any SARS. So this the no experience affect to this response this time. So we hope next time to respond better for this kind of infectious disease. Thank you.
Thank you, Sensei. Arigato gozaimashita.
Thank you. Right, Miss Siti Nurlela. Yeah, so the questions is, solusi banyak perawat yang gugur dalam tugas, Miss Siti Nurlela. Could you unmute yourself, Miss Siti Nurlela?
Oke, terima kasih Pak Muhammad Fatur ya. Terima kasih pertanyaannya.
Fatoni.
Oh, Fatoni, mohon maaf Pak Fatoni. Di sini kelihatan Muhammad Fatoni. Oke. Baik, untuk menyikapi banyaknya tenaga kesehatan teman-teman kita yang gugur, apa yang perlu kita lakukan? Pastinya kita perlu lakukan adalah pertama saling menguatkan, ya, baik secara mental maupun fisik maupun mental ya. Bagaimana teman-teman tetap berespon positif ya. Pastinya kita harus juga melihat dari penggunaan yang digunakan APD-nya, kemudian perlu juga ada evaluasi bagaimana penerapan penggunaan APD, karena kita tahu ada beberapa juga yang perlu dilihat bahwa tidak hanya APD yang dapat melindungi kita, tapi yang utama adalah bagaimana kita bisa menerapkan protokol kesehatan dengan baik. Ya, bagaimana kita tetap menjalankan atau menerapkan physical distancing, kemudian cuci tangan dengan baik, kemudian apakah teman-teman kita itu pulang bekerja sebelum ke rumah atau setelah bekerja itu melakukan kebersihan diri. Nah, itu juga perlu dievaluasi ya, sehingga ini menjadi PR kita bersama untuk kita evaluasi ke depannya. Karena kita lihat ada beberapa teman-teman kita memang yang mempunyai komorbid dan mereka juga berada di area pelayanan yang berisiko, sehingga yang perlu diperhatikan adalah memilah teman-teman atau tenaga yang akan ditempatkan di ruangan zona merah atau ruangan perawatan COVID. Kita evaluasi kembali usia berapa yang sedianya perlu kita tempatkan di sana, kemudian perlu juga diperhatikan memang faktor-faktor risiko dari teman-teman yang memang ditempatkan di sana, sehingga itu bisa meminimalkan terjadinya paparan, bahkan kondisi yang lebih tidak baik lagi. Yang lainnya adalah kita memberikan kita tetap memberikan selalu memberikan respon positif terhadap teman-teman kita, karena memang tidak hanya APD ya, dalam kondisi kita stres itu juga akan menurunkan daya tahan tubuh kita, sehingga memang yang diperlukan adalah tadi ketahanan fisik dan mental perawat itu sendiri. Itu yang perlu kita nanti evaluasi ke depannya, sehingga memang tenaga-tenaga yang beresiko dan beresiko akan terjadi terkena paparan COVID-19 itu bisa lebih minimal. Intinya fight respon, psychological respon, spiritual respon itu yang nggak boleh kita hilangkan. Dan kita saling mengingatkan bahwa pandemi ini insya Allah akan berakhir. Saya rasa itu. Jadi keyakinan kita itu utama, sehingga membuat kita lebih tangguh dan lebih kuat dalam menghadapi apapun, terutama untuk teman-teman di emergency. Saya rasa itu Bu Arcelia. Terima kasih.
Tambahan Bu, terkait pemberian vaksin untuk tenaga kesehatan, apakah dari PPNI atau HIPGABI ini bisa menyetujui atau bagaimana Bu solusinya? Mumpung ada Pak Welas ini. Terima kasih.
Yeah.
Okay, Miss Siti Nurlela, before you continue, so the answer for solutions to prevent COVID-19 exposure to our nurses, basically there is three main strategy. First is health safety protocol. they should comply to it. We should develop policies that really match to the needs of practice, mental and physical resilience, and PPA support. And I'm not sure. So, Pak Fatoni, your questions is about. Sorry, could you repeat that again? So. Could you unmute yourself? You still you still unmute, Pak Muhammad Fatoni. Could you unmute yourself? Oh, okay. Would that be okay if we talk after this, or you could talk privately to Miss Ella, because we are running over time, Muhammad, Mr. Okay. Right. Thank you very much. Thank you. So I'm afraid this is the end of our fruitful seminar. I would like to once again extend my gratitude to our 4 amazing speakers, Dr. Lai, Miss Emma Brokenshire, Miss Noriko Ikeda, and Miss Siti Nurlela for making time and sharing your expertise with us. I believe emergency department managers, policymakers, and all of us who attend this seminar gain valuable insight for all our 4 distinguished speakers. I really enjoy moderating this seminar. It's 7 o'clock in the morning now in Edinburgh, but I really enjoy this seminar. So thank you. I hand it over to Nurse Mito for the closing.
Terima kasih.
Terima kasih, arigato gozaimasu.
Terima kasih buat Mbak Arsel.
Thank you, Bella. Terima kasih.
Okay, thank you very much, Nurse Arcel from Edinburgh. It was such a great session, both presentation and discussion were very interactive and have opened our point of view. In my deepest gratitude to the speakers, Ms. Noriko Ikeda, thank you, and our colleague from Indonesia, Miss Siti Nurlela, thank you, terima kasih, salam kenal Bu Ella, for sharing experience about emergency department management, started from triage, workload, redesign and zoning, reward and compensation system, and psychological support for healthcare worker, especially in emergency room or emergency department. Thank you very much for all speakers. Honorable participants, from the first and second session of webinar, together we have listened the good sharing and knowledge and extraordinary experience from our speakers who are very competent in their field. It was never easy to deal with disaster, especially COVID-19 pandemic that has been with us for almost 10 months. We don't have any knowledge or precise time when the pandemic will be over and leave us for good. But we always have the ability to equip ourselves with ideas or modification so that we can continue to provide good and safe service in emergency setting. Ladies and gentlemen, before we closing the event, I would like to invite you to open your camera or join the video. because we would have a photo session, the last photo session for the host. Please take the photo session for the last before we close before we closing the event. Okay.
Okay, open the video.
For all participants, would you like to open your video because we have to photo session.
Okay, so we have 8 screen. Okay, so just please wait a second. Okay, ready? 1, 2, and 3, smile. Okay, for the second screen, 1, 2, and 3, smile. And then for the third screen, 1, 2, and 3, smile. Okay. And then for the fourth screen, 1, 2, and 3, smile. And then for the fifth screen, 1, 2, and 3, smile. Sixth screen, 1, 2, and 3, smile. And then the seventh screen, 1, 2, and 3, smile. Eighth screen, the last one, 1, 2, and 3, smile. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Eri. So many screen in our Zoom room. Yeah. Okay, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Alhamdulillah, praise to the Lord. We have come to the end of the event. On behalf of all the committee members, I would like to express my utmost gratitude to all distinguished speakers, moderator, and all participants for making this event success and run smoothly. Now, I would like to leave you with a quote from Survival Guide. We cannot stop natural disaster, but we can arm ourselves with knowledge. So many lives wouldn't have to be lost if there was enough disaster preparedness. Preparedness, when properly pursued, is a way of life, not a sudden spectacular program. At last, thank you very much, and please forgive us for our shortcomings. Until we meet again in the next scientific meeting, may all of you be safe and healthy, and wish you all a nice weekend. I'm Mito Julianto. Say goodbye and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, FC. Offline ya.
Thank you, Pak.
Go, leave.
Okay, go offline.
And all.
5, 4, 3, 2,